Time to do some React Andy content, boys, for 2 hours.
Hi, Zizaran here with another podcast with Grenier Games, and I'm joined here with Mark and Jonathan. Thank you so much for taking time out. I know it's like crazy busy for you guys, so we have an hour, and this is a really exciting patch to be doing an interview. This is congratulations.
Yeah, I mean, it's honestly gone really, really well. Like I think I was saying to Mark before, we managed to somehow dodge all the bullets as far as like problems that we were worried might occur. Now, obviously, there were like a bunch of like random progression blocking bugs and stuff like that. But overall, like, I mean, like we can sort those out and everything. But the main thing is just like, that players are much happier with the end game. And honestly, that was our major goal, right? Like we were like, let's get the end game better. And so we can sort of see immediately that like that has actually worked. And I'm really glad about that because, yeah, as I said, that was our major goal. That's what we wanted to achieve. And so, obviously tons more to do, but like that's a huge thing off as far as like improving PoE2 is concerned. So yeah, we couldn't be happier about that for sure.
Yeah, it's a really good sign when day 3 has more players than the launch day. Like, I don't think I've seen like day 3 having more. That was like very impressive. So
wait, is that happening? PoE2 concurrent players, did they peak more than day 3? They didn't peak that, obviously. I know I saw like 300 something. Launch 400, 421, 3 days later. Holy shit, look at this. Look at this. Oh, right, so the weekend had free players and then they crashed down. Then they've been bouncing up to 300K. Except yesterday. Well, weekend's over, right? It's Monday, Tuesday now, so that makes sense. But this is crazy good numbers.
Yeah, I mean, that's normally the only time when the numbers go up on the second day or after is when we had such horrible server problems on the first day.
Yeah.
So because that didn't happen, we're like, okay, this is actually a good sign. We've actually got just natural growth. So yeah, I was really happy about that. And the other thing as well that we've noticed is that we don't have like completely good numbers on this yet, but we can see that the number of players who previously didn't like go into endgame after campaign, that number's increased quite a lot. So that's the other thing that like I think is a good sign as well. So I mean, obviously, once we get a couple more weeks of data there, we'll be able to see like, has that really worked? Does people keep it going? But yeah, like that's been something that's been really good to see as well.
Cool. No, I mean, it's really good. And EU servers, big thank you. Like, EU servers have been a lot better.
I can't get out of my head. Sis's shirt looks exactly like one of my daughter's PJs. I just want to tuck him in and put him to bed. Say goodnight, kiss him on the cheek. It looks exactly like one of my daughter's PJs. I can't stop. Sorry, I cannot stop thinking about it. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, so like that last PoE1 launch was certainly rough in that way because we had like a few issues there, but I'm glad to hear that it's getting better. I know that there was like still a couple of provider issues that we've been dealing with. I mean, there's like a lot that goes on in the background that the players don't see of like, we get packet loss here and that kind of thing. And like we're working on it constantly. But yeah, like the hope is that we should now be in a position where like all of the issues that we'd need to be worried about in regard to servers should be good for 1.0 launch, which, I mean, I'm expecting like some big results from that. So, like I really want to see like a lot more players. So yeah, that's another one of those things where we like had it on our big list of T1 issues and we wanted to try and resolve. So yeah, it's good to hear that that's also worked.
Awesome.
Good.
One of the things I did want to ask about, like the endgame is so reworked now, and a big thing, like a big change, like it felt like you were like kind of lost when starting the endgame before it like felt very optional.
Right.
And yeah, that you kind of mentioned it. So you're seeing like a lot more people that continue now in maps. Like people aren't just like ending.
Yeah, so I do need to get some even better numbers than this, but even just from like an initial cursory look with the numbers, it looked like it was at least plus 50% on what we were previously doing as far as like players who keep going after campaign.
That's not good.
Now, like I think there's going to be like quite a lot more because the really interesting thing is going to be the people who take, like not everyone obviously can devote like, every single evening to playing the game on launch, right? So there's going to be a lot of those more casual players who are going to take a little bit longer to get through campaign. So it'll be really interesting to see what the numbers for those players look like.
Yeah.
Once they've kind of finished campaign and getting through, because like we're only just like a little over a weekend, so there's going to be a lot of players who haven't even finished campaign yet.
Even anecdotally though, like around the office, the amount of staff just playing now an end game where they probably weren't before is like actually kind of crazy. And just every day, everyone's just talking about all their adventures they're doing in end game and what strategies and what content they've been playing and all of that. Like, just the talk in the office has been so I guess like just reinvigorating for like and refreshing for the in-game vibe, even just for us as well. And it's like generally speaking, as much as it's obviously a very small sample size, if the staff are happy and a lot of them are players, right? Like that's generally the case, and they're playing the in-game, then it's often a very good reflection on the fact that probably it's succeeding out of the office as well. Not 100% of the time, but in this case, I think
that's good. My chat's been very happy as well. Like it's been very nice.
Are you guys happy with the league so far? Give me a W or L in the chat right now. Are you guys happy with the league? Because I have a capital dub on this one. Like a capital dub. That's where I'm at. If you're watching this on YouTube, because I'll probably end up on YouTube with a React Andy bullshit here. Watching this on YouTube, give me a L or a dub in the comments down below what you think of the league so far. Just see what the community has to say. I don't see a single L. YouTube's in the same situation. There's a couple of L's. Okay, you guys are just trolling.
The one thing I was curious about with the new end game, which I really liked myself, with I was like, do I do Delirium first? Do I do Ritual first? Is that something? Do you want it to be that open ended, or have you thought about telling, especially like new players, like do Ritual first, or do? Because I did see some newer players were very concerned. Am I missing out on something? Which experienced players don't necessarily have an issue with that. But that's like a concern I had to answer a lot.
So I think what we'll probably do is, I mean, one thing to be clear about to start with is it's not the expectation that you do every single league every single time you play.
Yeah.
So one of the changes that I think is a little bit less obvious there that relates to that is that when you're using tablets now, it prevents content that like league content that isn't part of the tablets from spawning. And the reason why we do that is to explicitly make it so that if you're choosing like 1 to 3 leagues to do with tablets, then we're explicitly saying like you don't have to worry about doing the other leagues because nothing.
So this is like when I was progressing the points to get the other league mechanics skill trees, I wanted to focus on Breach. So what I did was I ran maps that gave me points for those things. But I always used triple Breach tablets. So I kept doing what I wanted to do whilst doing the progression for the other things to get the points for those. That's how I did it. And I thought that was great.
That would happen with those is going to affect the play experience if you only want to engage with one. And this is kind of back to something that we had with PoE 1 a little bit more, just looking at how people play the end game there. It was pretty common for a lot of players to just like, oh, I'm going to play like this league and that league, and then I'm not going to bother with anything else for this particular season. So we wanted to just make sure that there was no, players didn't feel like they have to do all of them. And so like what I expect a lot of just regular players to do is just play 1 or 2 of them, probably finish the primary Atlas tree, but then, just do whatever ones that you like. And then the other thing as well that we can do is that obviously we're going to be adding, like more leagues over time. And what we'll probably do is make so the ones around, like obviously there's limited space around where the center of the
RTS Tim, thanks so much for gifts.
Of the Ziggurat is. We'll probably have the newer ones, or just like ones that are kind of like haven't been played for a while, like around that center, and then the ones that are like less common or they've been like they're getting a bit older. We can like push those out. So that's the kind of stuff we can do to sort of like rearrange things a little bit. Like I wouldn't want to drastically do it every league or anything, but like we effectively have the ability to rearrange that in order to make it so that there's ones that are more likely for new players to do because they just happen to be around the starting location. Because over time there's going to be quite a lot of these, and so there's just literally limited physical space there to put stuff.
So just to double check, like currently if I use 3 Breach tablets, other mechanics aren't supposed to be spawning, right?
Correct.
Other tablet content.
Other tablet content. So secondary content like strong boxes and exiles and stuff, these do.
I heard a sale. Oh. 50x. I tabbed out for 50x. I'm sorry.
But you're not supposed to get like a ritual or something like that if you put 3 breaches in there.
Pretty sure you still do at the moment.
I mean, I've been paying attention to it, and I'm definitely not with what the strategies.
Okay, but something to understand is that if you're using like a radiated or something, then a radiated still gives you the full random set. So like it's like the things that give specific leagues. If you go all in on that league, then you shouldn't get other leagues. That's kind of the intended way. So the actual way that
I think maybe Sis is on to what I was talking about. So when I ran maps, what I did was, for example, when I picked up scroll. When I did my temple nodes, I would run these maps with triple breach. That would give me a temple beacon in here. whilst having triple breach tablets. Like that's how I would do it, and that's how I ended up in a position where I got more league mechanics than just the ones from my tablets. Maybe that's what he's talking about.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it could have been. So each tablet that doesn't give a league mechanic, each slot that is not giving you a league mechanic effectively gives you a percentage chance for a piece of random content, which leads to the situation where when you add all the ones that do, then yeah, you no longer get those anymore.
Okay.
And yeah, that's the kind of thing to just make sure of. It's one of these subtle things where like it doesn't seem that important, but like over time it actually does like contribute to the feeling of I'm expected to do all of these. So yeah, it's just one of those things we wanted to avoid right at the gate.
Okay. There are a lot of people in chat even saying like, I'm using 3 breach tablets and I'm still getting ritual.
Okay.
I definitely don't. So I wonder what.
We might have to look into that.
Isn't that because of the irradiation? Yeah, okay, somebody in chat already wrote. You can get the radiation if you use Doriani. And that would add a random one, I guess. Interesting.
Running breach.
Yeah, I run irradiated a lot myself, so.
Well, Mark, a couple of days ago, messaged me with like, I reckon that I've found the like best strategy for finding items in the game right now. So you know, that's so he's paying attention, I guess.
Well, I specifically was thinking about it as I've been really enjoying the fact that if you all in on breach, you don't get the other stuff. Like you don't just randomly have a random thing that's interrupting. So I'm surprised maybe there is some case
we
where
should probably just have a check because you never know.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to check that, but it is meant to be the case if you use 3 league tablets of one league, you don't get any other of the leagues.
Appreciate it, man.
You'll still get your wisps, your summoning circles, all of that stuff. Yeah.
I have to say anecdotally though that for some reason ritual just does seem to be more common than other leagues, and I don't know why that is, but yet somehow it seems to be to me. Like there's no mathematical reason as far as I know that should be the case, but it's just something that I've noticed. I don't know what's going on with that.
Yeah. I really like the ritual rework as well. It's been really nice. It's like I'm running that a lot. Got a headhunter from it. Very, very pleased. Also, when are we getting the Mark currency guide?
On how to ground, what your farming strategy is? You're gonna publish a build guide here?
No. I'm the support character right now that's joining someone else's maps, and they'll be very angry if all of a sudden costed his investment to triple in cost.
Based. I love that you're playing. That's awesome. A lot of things.
Thank you, Nona's Gifter.
Really big glow ups this league. Just super cool. Are there more mechanics that you want to expand on? And I wondered if you could talk a little bit about like how do you decide like what should be a minor mechanic, what should be a major mechanic?
You know, that's actually been a kind of interesting one because what I'm wondering is because I was actually having a conversation with Mark of like when are we gonna how are we gonna add more secondary mechanics specifically, because they're not necessarily it's very unlikely that a full league that we would make today would turn into a secondary mechanic.
Yeah.
So what that kind of means is that we probably have to decide specifically to add them. But one thing I was wondering about, and I don't know whether we'd do this or not, is like I would consider potentially having it so that the remnant encounters that aren't part of expeditions, we could potentially have those be a secondary mechanic, maybe. Like that's the sort of option that we would have. We could say like, okay, we're gonna split this off, and this is one of the core things that could happen. I'm not sure whether we want to do that or not, because maybe the reward systems are not quite right then, because we kind of want that to be associated with all of the with the expedition league. But what we could consider doing, as I said, is just taking specific parts of content that we publish in the future and saying this is a secondary mechanic that's core. But in terms of extra stuff that we want to improve, Strongbox is the one that is definitely not in the right place. That's something that could definitely use that could use an upgrade. I mean, I think how many mods are there that are the mods that actually hurt you? I think it might be 4 or something. It's a ridiculously tiny number.
I don't think you can include freeze because it's
that one does literally nothing.
Its duration is shorter before the first monster spawns.
Because I talked about this before. Like in Period 1, you click on a box and you get frozen. The monsters are instantaneously spawned and you're frozen, and that's scary. Whereas freeze boxes in Period 2 is like, oh, it's frozen. Fine. The freeze will end before the monsters spawn anyway, so it's completely irrelevant. The other thing is people can use freeze charms, so then freeze is completely voided. So I don't know what the solution is there.
Yeah.
There's not many. There's not enough for sure.
Strongbox
everything
is
so much for the
weak.
Prime.
Like I would say that one needs to improve for sure. And then there's stuff that's like technically not in the end game as such that we'd like really want to improve, which we've talked about before, which is the what do you call it?
Ultimatum.
Ultimatum.
Trial of Chaos and Trial of Sycamus.
I never remember the names.
They're both suboptimal.
Yeah.
Especially for I mean, look, they have their exclusive drops to some degree, but I can't say it's something I'd ever be excited about farming Trial of Chaos for a sustained amount of time. Wouldn't say it's the most.
Well, Sanctum's probably a bit more tricky in that way, and I think the issue with Sanctum in particular is there's just too many rooms that require you to do things that aren't just basically killing stuff and getting through. Now, the thing that people commonly talk about in Sanctum, of course, is the honor system, and like that's a thing that would obviously be something that we'd have to really think. Because the thing is, I don't know that I want to get rid of that because it is kind of what makes Sanctum special, and but I know that I definitely appreciate the fact that a lot of people have problems with it. Like
Yeah.
So like when people are talking about Sanctum, they're mostly talking about that. But honestly, the thing that bothers me playing it is I think I just want more rooms that are simple, like just ones where it's just like, kill some monsters, get to the other side. Like I feel like if a lower percentage of them were like more, like do the specific other stuff, I would actually appreciate Sanctum more, I think. So that's like an obvious change we could make. But there's definitely more that just needs to go on with it.
But then like Trial of Chaos has just, okay, you can't leave. Like that needs to be solved. You should be able to leave and come back, like between rooms.
Right.
You if you're playing with a friend, two of you can barely fit on those elevators that go up. It's like real annoying. There's all kinds of just bad, but also because now we've done this whole in-game pass, they don't really scale into the in-game in the same way that all the other content does as well. Right. So, yeah, they need some attention for sure. We've got plans. It's just a matter of timing when to execute, but at least some of that, like, I would love to be able to fix the whole you can't leave and come back to Trial of Chaos at the very least sooner before we, because it's very easy to bundle all of this in some grand epic rework that's going to take forever. But there's like honestly 5 to 10 wins that are just going to make a massive, massive difference.
And there were some reward things with Trial of Chaos as well that I believe we'd discussed.
Well, that is one thing I want to talk about.
Yeah. I mean, so the rewards from those, like the item rewards, are kind of. I think we talked about what they needed to be in the past. I can't remember what we decided on now.
We've gone through a few iterations, but yes.
Right. They need some stuff. I don't
want to spoil that.
Yeah, I know. I'm not going to say what it is. I'm just saying, these problems we definitely recognize. And those two, originally those trials were sort of supposed to be considered in-game mechanics in themselves, as like something that you would do over and over. But right now, I would say they have not reached the level of actually being that.
Any other glow ups? I mean, there's small things. Okay, like wisps. Now that the wisps have a lot of possess and then escape, their target selection is now. You can tell it's pretty bad where it goes all the way to one corner of the map, then all the way back to the corner you came from, but just next to it. That stuff needs improving 100% now.
I actually thought, by the way, that the wisps were supposed to just go to the closest rare. Like, is that not how it works? It was supposed to be, currently. I thought. Right, okay. So
I thought that's how it worked as well.
Like that, probably. But I need to look into it again. But either way, it's pretty easy to change. It's just that before they didn't escape as often. And now it happens quite often. And so you're like, where the heck is this thing taking me back through this whole thing I've cleared? What else is there? There's some timing things that need improving on some of these things. Like the summoning circles can do a little bit of optimization for that.
I mean, in terms of like major systems, I feel like we've gone over the ones that that we see as to a larger extent.
I wouldn't say it's fundamental with shrines, but like for the shrines passing to boss and you give it replenishing shrine and then it's like you need 1 billion DPS to kill the boss is probably suboptimal. Especially when it's like 200% delirious levels going on. And then also, and I don't know what's going on.
I wonder if they're gonna tackle that, because like you get sent into Delirium in the tutorial version of Delirium, and they just throw you in the fucking deep end with that shit, dude. You get to play 180 to 200% deli maps. That shit hurts. It is the highest fucking difficulty of fucking content you can run in the game in terms of threats to your character's well-being. And it's like, I was like, I'm fucking dying, man. We put the Forgotten Ward on the chunk build and now we're fine. Like now you just walk through it. But holy fuck, that was rough in the early stages.
On with this, but how come someone did so? I'll find out afterwards. I don't know why I'm asking. you kill the rare boss and it drops like 50 rares with 2 mods, and I don't understand why.
Yeah.
And they're all rares and all only have 2 modifiers. And it's something to do with the shrine being on the monster. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, it's really annoying.
I just have like 1,000 rare items with 2 mods on the ground, and I'm like, I don't know, what are all these doing?
Okay, interesting.
I don't know. Anyway, there's some.
I fucking love Mark, dude. And every time that happens, I'm like, dude, I'm not gonna siphon through a bunch of rare items with 2 mods. If it were blue, it would be different. For rare modifiers or rare items with 2 mods, I'm like, yeah, I'm out of here, man. I just don't even look at them. It's just too much.
Like, that's probably more like in the bug territory, but like I can see how a player wouldn't understand if that's a bug or intentional, and so
Yeah.
there's a lot of things to improve here and there. I it's hard to say if that's a league glow up, but it certainly will make them feel a lot better, especially when you're playing them, for many hours worth of content as opposed to just once or twice.
And then the other one I would say that actually hasn't quite hit the mark that we just did is the logbooks, right? Like, I mean, the logbooks just have it, I mean, look, you were the one talking about this to me, but effectively, like at the top end, they can be pretty good, but like the average experience of a logbook is just not good enough right now.
Right.
Like that's something that we can improve, and that's something we can improve pretty quickly, I think, in the very near future.
That's
because like that, since that's the current league, we really want to make sure that's right. So Like, I imagine that's going to get some attention very quickly.
The minimum there is definitely not good enough. It's in fact very sad.
Expedition's the thing I've done the least. There's just so much stuff to do this patch. So I lived 30 hours at the start in Trial of the Sakuma, just doing Sakuma characters.
Bro, I did the same with Breach. Let's see how far I've gotten. Let's see. I still haven't finished up my Deli tree or Ritual. I finished the other trees, and I have done Expedition. But I still have plenty left to do in this game. Crazy.
And then after that, I went straight for Ritual and Delirium and stuff. So I haven't actually done a lot of Expedition yet. Yeah.
I have a feeling that Expedition logbook stuff will probably, if we weren't looking into it already, I suspect this would have come up pretty soon in the general community vibe, just because it is something that, like, more people are going to start doing. Like, because it's further away from the starting location than the others, I suspect that overall it's going to be like less popular, ironically, even though it's kind of the current league. But yeah, like it is something that needs improving for sure.
I think a part of it is also once you do the 4 quest ones, like actual logbook drops are so rare.
Right.
Like most people probably then are like, oh, okay, I've done the quest line, moving on to something else. And they are, I've seen not that many. And so you don't get exposed to it that often. Whereas if you, and I honestly think that in itself is a bit of a problem as well. And so if you were exposed to it more often, you'd probably be like, some of these logbooks are just the worst. It's just boring and bland, and it doesn't hold up to the level of, when you're doing all this other combat, you're fully invested in, you got your full trees for and all of that, and then you go do this, you're just like, what is this? And
I did read.
Sometimes there's.
Oh, sorry, go on.
Oh, I was just saying, and then the ceiling is high, like for sure, the maximum is high. The Elder's Rune is worth a ton, and a bunch of these other things are worth a whole bunch of stuff. And there's things with like the Bond Rune, which is honestly in an unacceptable spot IMO, where it was just spawning like 120 rares during a single remnant encounter and all kinds of stuff like that. And you get this like insane spike moment, and it's like holy, and there's literal 10 stacks of divines on the ground, and you feel all excited about it. Sure, but the average minimum, not good enough. Especially things like the sub dungeons. You like open a sub dungeon and you're like, okay, there's like 6 packs of monsters down here, and then that's kind of it. And you're like, what was the point in that? Like, that dynamite would have been better spent being placed on something else. And so but all of this is like pretty easy to improve. It's kind of one of my goals of this week personally. I'm just going to go and see what numbers we can just mess with, and hopefully, I don't know if it'll get deployed this week, but at least some of it hopefully will. But
the only thing that I know about Expedition that I read a comment about was again, I haven't interacted with it myself, but it was something like when you put down a logbook that you can influence what it is, and it was like an Elder's logbook or something. Somebody put one of those down and didn't get a single expedition. That's the only thing that I saw.
Well, that's sad.
Yeah.
So, I guess
I just wanted to mention
that. Nothing that would prevent that, right?
I That's it. That's
There is nothing that would prevent
It's just incredibly unlikely. So we probably just need to add some kind of minimum guarantee.
Yep.
Yeah.
That is,
to a block to prevent that from happening.
That does need to happen.
Okay, sure.
Hopefully,
Cool.
someone listening on our side can write that one down real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the only thing I saw with Expedition. I
That's
love
fucking
Ritual
hilarious,
right
dude.
now.
Do you like your infinite shopping window? Is that the strat?
Yeah.
Use that as an expensive strat.
It is. So it was like 80 divines or something on a hardcore trade, and then 6 tablets in, I got 1 headhunter, so it did pay for itself, and then some. So nice. Very
much,
light.
By the way, it's just you're infinitely shopping for mage bloods and headhunters. That's just what you're trying to do.
Not infinite.
Right.
It's 30 rerolls. Not infinite.
We have if it's more than 8, it's infinite kind of. You know.
Okay, right.
That's
the
good.
limit.
Fuck Ritual.
Cool. But yeah, no, it's a lot of fun. One of the things that I've been asked about the most, especially by other streamers, to bring up was sprint. A lot of people are a little bit unhappy with like how quickly we get knocked, and I've been especially asking like something like that we can maybe improve like the stun threshold for sprint, that like a single arrow maybe doesn't knock you.
We're having to think about this one. It's tricky because like the intention obviously of sprint is that you're not using it in combat per se. I mean, you can use it to sort of run away from combat, but the intention is that like once you're entering combat, you're not sprinting.
Yeah.
And so I guess the argument here is like, well, yeah, why should a single arrow knock you down? Like it might as well be more than 1 hit. But I worry that it would be so easy for it to get to the point where you can just kind of sprint through stuff.
Yeah.
Like I
agree.
Look, I definitely understand where people are coming from with this, because I do get that like it can sometimes feel just like bullshit when it's like, okay, I was running away, I wasn't even really in combat, but like some random stray arrow just happened to hit me. Like that certainly sucks. But I mean, yeah, like I guess the worry is that it would be so easy to just tweak this in such a way that it then results in you just kind of using it all the time in combat, and that's what we want to try and avoid.
I actually quite enjoy it. Like I quite enjoy assessing the situations, and then you know, you escape out of the sprint into a roll and then kind of start again, and you're kind of doing this as you're playing through, and you start to identify certain monsters that are have you know, higher probability of knocking you down and whatnot. Definitely some minions add a spanner to this, and definitely party play. Like, holy, if you're following a party member through, if there's a spamming twister in front of you and whirling slash, and you're sprinting behind them, you just you're just on the floor like a bunch of the times. But like, sure.
What's causing that to happen in that case?
Because they're shooting him and it's going through and hitting me. So I'm catching stray projectiles at the back.
Oh.
You know, it happens in party play all the time, especially party play in the campaign as well, though. You often, if you're just the extra player, you're getting knocked down pretty regularly. But like, we don't think
there's
it's
not really
wrong.
a solution to that, though.
What it is. But I actually quite enjoy it. I quite enjoy the starting and stopping and assessing when I start and when I should be sprinting and when not. And there are times where I definitely push it and I get knocked down and I die and I'm like, yeah, I deserve that. I knew what I was doing. So I don't know. I guess, are you looking at it more from a hardcore approach as well?
No, so
like...
for me on hardcore, this is like the only thing that I like kind of promised. Nearly every streamer messaged me about this. I was like, I guess I'll bring it up, but I'm hardcore, so I don't really sprint. I use it for the intended purpose, which is when there's a big zone and a lot of backtracking. So I actually, this is not the thing I feel the most strongly about already.
There are still a few cases to me where sprint gets stuck on an edge, which I wouldn't expect to get stuck.
Do you guys use sprint between packs, or do you use sprint into a pack? Because I sprint almost all the time. All the time. Both, yeah, all the time. Both for YouTube chat as well. We're just full send right into a pack. I'm like, oh, we're good, right? That's just the play, right?
And I do bring those up when those happen. And that's something that I would want to improve, but I would say it's largely okay, but there are just certain places where it can be bad. And so I want to try and fix that. But what I don't want to do, because like a thing some people will say with response to that is, oh, just make it so you can just turn as fast as you want. But it's like, I do feel like that takes away from like the game of it, of like, you know, making that as a movement feel different than other movement. And so
yeah,
I think it's just more about like fixing just like little edge cases to me more. And then as for the stray projectile thing, I feel like it's going to be hard to come up with a balance for that. That'd be good.
I personally think it's fine. Like, I agree with the getting stuck on things sometimes. But I personally like quite enjoy using it. deciding when to use it, when not. When I asked about the hardcore thing, I was just envisioning myself, okay, what would I do if I was playing on hardcore with that? And
Not sprint.
yes, I would probably not sprint very often.
Same.
I would probably not be doing that, so I could see, but
Old F4, I guess, is what you'd be doing as soon as you got knocked down.
Yeah.
Rupert in chat saying, I sprint all the time and die like a man spamming flask.
we do the stun thing. Do you log back in with?
You log back in stun, but you could sacrifice the map, which is pretty punishing. I just don't sprint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I can see why some people would assume that.
I will say this on the sprint topic. It's more of a conversation for hardcore players and not for the majority of the player base. But sure.
Assumption. Would see that as too punishing. But, yeah, I don't know. As you said, it can be very easy to make some changes there, and then it's just, that's it. You're just sprinting forever now, and there's no cost to it. There's no risk to it. It's just, and it would be the real fine line to cross where all of a sudden now it's,
we're just getting more
especially
moves.
if it actually respected your stun threshold, like it would be very easy to just be like, oh, you take this, and now you're just like...
Maybe a keystone that just like makes it that the first hit doesn't knock you, but the second one would. So that that one stray arrow won't knock you, but everything else would.
I
Fuck,
wonder
would
if
that be a
would just
keystone
remove,
for,
like,
though?
95% of all knockdowns. Like, how many knockdowns aren't that is a good question.
That's fair.
Would have to look into it, I guess.
Yeah.
But anyway.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah,
No,
that's
it's,
kind of
I just love how they're hearing these things, and the first thing they're like, instead of like having a conversation about it or arguing about it, they're like, you know what, we're gonna look into it and then we'll see if we're gonna make any changes to it. I just love that mentality that they have. It's so good.
Oh, and the other thing was, so you guys did give us a dodge only hotkey, but a lot of people want a sprint only hotkey.
Yes.
Well, I'm not quite sure what that would be because the roll being part of it is part of the cost. So if you could just start sprinting without rolling first, it would mean that the cost that you're supposed to be paying to start sprinting wouldn't be there, and that would kind of compromise the what the system's supposed to do. So yeah, I think that probably can't really happen. The dodge only thing was because there were people who were saying that effectively they were intending to just dodge roll and not sprint, but then they got knocked down because they held it slightly too long. That was like a certain thing. So there was just a few players saying that, and I figured we could add a hotkey for that just to resolve that issue if that was what you were experiencing. But yeah, the thing of not having to pay the cost, that I don't think we can change.
Okay. Cool. So one thing you guys added this league was runic ward. And I'm really curious to see, did that like pan out how you're hoping? Are you seeing people use it how you were envisioning when adding it?
I mean, people are definitely using it with certain skills. Like, I mean, there are a couple that are like pretty spicy in terms of balance, like especially that block one, which then shipped with a bug that meant the cooldown didn't start at the so not repulsion, refutation. The cooldown didn't start at the right time. So I mean, like, people are definitely using it. I mean, I think this is a system we want to expand on more though. Like, the way that I see Kalguran skills is it's supposed to be, I wouldn't necessarily imagine that it's like you're building an entirely Kalguran build, although that would ideally be something that people can do if they really want. But it's more just that like there's skills that can find a place across many different builds to kind of like effectively serve a little bit to add to the, I guess, the thing that you had in PoE 1 more, where a lot more skills were not weapon specific. So you would have a thing where like there was sort of more just like cross-contamination of different skills between builds, and Kalguran skills are supposed to sort of serve that way where they can be kind of like used on many different builds and allow you to access to mechanics that you don't necessarily normally get on a particular weapon set. So that's kind of like how I imagine them being used, and yeah, we'll add more to that. The initial set I think is like is pretty cool. Like, I think that there's some interesting stuff there, but I do think that we can add more things like that. But now that we've got this as a kind of concept, it means that we can just add whenever we want to add something more. We just easily can. Yeah. So overall, I like what it does in terms of how it works. But at the same time, I don't want it to be completely mandatory. Like, I don't want it to be that like every single character must have Kalguran skills, which is what you'd get if like Ward was completely trivial. Like, you do have to make the decision, like, am I playing a build that's going to include it or not?
I think that
refutation
probably,
Hollow Shell
looking
is
at it
so
purely
fucking strong
numerically
though.
at endgame, I think that I do like the. I know probably the thing that people mostly are going to want to ask is why is there a defensive trade-off for it? Which I do like, but I do think it went a little bit. It's like a little bit too punitive on the loss of defenses to what you get.
Yeah.
Not obviously not in every case. But
Well,
I suspect
it was also a very like abrupt.
Cases.
It was a very abrupt change. Like I believe during the campaign, it's either non-existent or barely any, and then when you get like more in-game pieces, like a big energy shield piece, suddenly it's like 40% of the energy shield is gone, and there's no way to revert it. That was a little bit harsh.
One thing that happened there, so it was a trade-off the entire time in development, and then at some point we were like, it's not. We wanted the trade-off early game to be less than in-game, but still there's a trade-off. And then over time, the more and more we played it, the more we were like, we don't like the trade-off in campaign.
Well, in campaign, it's like, yeah, you just want it to be. I mean, during the actual league itself, because bear in mind, there's going to be a difference after the league ends, right? And so once the league ends, it's going to be something you only encounter in in-game anyway. Like effectively like that, you got to look at that as like being the final system in the end is like now, like it's always a trade-off. But as Mark was saying, we might have just made the trade-off slightly too much. And it's just a matter of like bringing that, the amount that the defenses go down might just like be not quite as much.
It was quite hard to understand. Like it's obviously, you can understand what it means to have just runic. Like, let's say you were just converting your defenses to runic ward on in-game items. You have some pool of runic ward. It's pretty easy to look at that and go, okay, I understand what I lost and what I gained. And yes, the runic ward probably is less useful. Well, not probably. It is less useful than the defenses you traded it for sure. However, it was like, oh, well, the reason you're doing this as well should be because of all these skills and supports and that can boost your build. But it was very hard to understand exactly how to quantify that benefit. Because obviously there's all kinds of different arrays of builds and rune combos and everything. And so this is where I'm like, I think now looking at it, now that the players have had their hands on it, I'm just like, the gain of what you get, and I'm not saying in all cases, obviously there are some niche cases and whatnot and where it is worth it, but the general gain in what you get from the trade-off isn't worth it. And I don't think it's far off. But it's not like.
I'm curious. Right. Do you guys use ward on your characters outside of just having like 100 wards, so you can use something like refutation to keep low ward or hollow shell, just to use something like this for onslaught? Because that's like the main purpose I have for ward. Maybe if I played like a witch or a shaman or something or a sorceress, maybe I would do it differently so that I could use like ward-bound minions and stuff like that. Because I really want to look into that this league. But like, I just want to have a north of 100 ward and just use hollow shell or refutation and just keep low life to make sure that, or low ward just to keep the onslaught going. Like that's kind of where I'm at.
So, again, on my list, hopefully, again, I was looking at logbooks and general Runes of Elder stuff this week. So, and then a lot of the guy who did a lot of the numbers with that, he's in theory back today. So I can also bring it up with him and we can figure out, what went right and what went wrong with some of that. But either way, definitely a discussion point. I could see a world in where all of a sudden I don't like saying this because people will take it as a certainty. We maybe, depending on our conversation, give some of the defenses back. It shouldn't affect, the existing items should get updated from that. So it shouldn't. But we'll see.
Regardless if you do or not, do you think you'd ever give the people the option to like revert the forge? Either they weren't maybe not aware of how punishing it was going to be.
Well, I guess.
Okay, isn't the item shown when you smack it in to the anvil? Yeah, you can see what's happening. Like my 808 evasion goes into 102 ward, but I lose, down to 653. So I mean, it's one of those moments where people just need to learn how to read, I guess.
Argument I would make there is that you can see before you do it exactly what the result's going to be. So like that's the reason why this UI for this is specifically the way that it is. Like where you can like get the result there. So like my inclination would not to be like it kind of like it's kind of interesting because like I wonder why this mechanic in particular feels like you should be able to do that when it's one of the only ones that actually does literally tell you exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Do.
Yeah, it tells you.
Kind of
I got
way.
pastries, by the way. Let's enjoy the show.
Benefit all the way until it all of a
until
sudden
suddenly it wasn't. So I can definitely agree with that.
You didn't think to even need to look at the resultant item until then.
Correct.
You're like,
and then
hold on,
in an in-game only context, once it's like a league at the end, that won't be the thing anymore because like from the very beginning, once you're doing it, it'll be subtracting as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, that I guess we'll change that element. But yeah, like I mean, generally speaking, crafts just aren't undoable, right? Like it's like there's an item for that. So
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense. I actually got pretty lucky. Like the first thing I found, like in the literal like the Rust King zone, was the concussive grenades or concussive runes, and I put it with flash grenade. And that was like a fun thing to explore early because like first I only had like 10 runic ward and I was like, I mean, I don't have support gems, so I guess it's okay. Then I got like 50 runic ward and it just like started like helping me a lot with clear and I was like, oh, this is really cool. So
Nice.
enjoyed that early. So I had a question that about permanent character choices during the campaign. Obviously in PoE 1 with the bandits we can respec them.
This is a
Currently
good question.
PoE 2, there's not much respec.
This is great. For the campaign choices or rewards, like the snake vial. Schema is the only one you could change, right?
King, is that something you'd ever consider changing? Especially the shark fin and stuff like that?
Yeah, please.
It is intended to add support for that, yes.
Okay, cool.
I mean, we've got it in a few places where we've got specific UIs and so on, but it's like not consistent throughout the game. So we just need to go through and effectively make sure that we can improve that. Yeah, like generally speaking, we do want you to not have anything that is like, well, okay, other than, well, no, I guess there's nothing that's actually truly permanent about a character at this point, right?
Oh, the character, the class.
Except for those. It might just be that, yeah. So I mean, yeah, that's obviously a hole that we need to plug. We just never got around to it yet.
Oh, speaking of permanent character choices, would you add an ability to either respec or disable Atlas nodes? This is particularly for hardcore.
So this is one that's come up a lot, and it's something that we can't really do, and that's because if you could respec Atlas nodes, it would mean that you would effectively be incentivized to do the ones that affect stuff that you can see on the Atlas. So what I mean by that is like, for example, biome-specific stuff where it's like, okay, I'm entering a forest now, I'm going to respec from one thing to the other. And we just kind of don't really want that to be the case. Like part of the design of the new Atlas tree where you get all of it and you can't respec it means that we can start having bonuses that affect things that you can see on the Atlas. So if we were to change that, it would mean we'd have to do something with that as well. But even then, the counter argument that we've heard is like, well, what if you could just disable nodes then? Like if they're still spec, they're just disabled, right? But then the problem with that is that we feel that the level of complexity that would effectively introduce to how players feel about the Atlas would be quite high. And we're kind of a little bit like worried about that. Like part of the thinking here with the Atlas as well is that we're kind of lowering the number of places where you need to make those choices to be quite a lot smaller because it's only the multi-choice nodes or the masters. And so that meant that like the intention there was like, can we get the feeling of like having in-game builds and having different strategies, but without having it to be that you have to like do these grand respecs that involve like all sorts of like different nodes and everything. And the worry is that even if we just get to the point of disabling nodes, there's going to be like this sort of feeling of like, oh, someone's going to tell you, oh yeah, you should turn these ones off and those ones off, and like you should do this. And like it just sort of adds like a complexity to the Atlas tree that we're like hoping to avoid if we can. And so we really want to try and achieve whatever we can do without doing that. Now, the part where I feel sympathy for people is that there are some nodes that currently are adding difficulty where that wasn't really the intention. Like the intention was that anytime we're adding, it's supposed to be that it's adding content, like there's more content for you. And so if you feel like something's adding difficulty, then we're kind of like, that isn't really what the Atlas is supposed to be doing unless it's a choice. Now, I'd say the nodes in particular that are the bad for this are the ones that are the mandatory ones to get you from the white map nodes to the yellow map nodes, if you know what I'm getting at one. There's like the ones that are limited to like level 70 and above.
Yeah.
And there's like ones that add mods to rares there, and those ones definitely do increase difficulty. And I would say that that's probably something that we need to adjust or do something about, because like that's effectively mandatory difficulty. Now, the funny thing about that is that the reason why we thought that was okay is because previously we had things like that happened naturally just as you went up map tiers. And so the theory was, well, if you like previously, it's like, you know, you'd go up into yellow maps and it would increase the number of map mods that a rare can get. This is effectively just being explicit about that. Like rather than it being something you don't even know about, like a hidden mechanic, it's now effectively an explicit mechanic because you allocate it yourself, and everyone has to allocate that because they have to go through those nodes. And so that's kind of what we were thinking. But the perception of it is completely different than that. It's like, you're forcing me to add difficulty.
Yeah, so the stupid ad commercial, I completely missed what they said about the permanent choice. I'm really curious about that. That's the only thing that aggravates me. Sorry. The answer was that they don't want, that they're going to look into it and see what they can fix. They had some UI elements in place for it already, but they are looking into it.
And so it's then unclear, like, what exactly they should do there.
Like the scare. Oh, go on.
Sorry, I was going to say those nodes in particular are bad though as well, because there is nothing to indicate that adding more monster modifiers increases the rewards of the monster as well. Yes. Like unless you know, you know, and if you don't know, and then you go and look at the keyword, it just says +1 modifier.
Well, so the funny thing is when we looked, like even the keyword doesn't technically tell you that.
Yeah,
it doesn't actually say, oh, by the way, you're getting more rewards, guys. It's like one of those things. That could be one of those things that's kind of.
Here's a wit. What if that said? What if the adding of the modifiers was hidden and it said X% increased rarity from rare monsters? And like, what if you invert?
Really what it is, it is the modifiers. You do need to know that.
Now everyone wants to know.
Yeah, you do need to know that. But yeah, it is a good point that like effectively it's presented as just difficulty with no rewards. In reality, it's like difficulty and rewards.
Yeah.
So there is something that we need to do there. But look, basically what the overall answer to the respec of the Atlas tree thing is that ideally we'd be in a situation that we can get to where nobody feels like they need to do it. Right? Like if we can get to that point, then that means we're doing well. So we'd rather make changes to prevent the need for it rather than actually having to add the respec.
More multi-choice.
Which means more multi-choice potentially, but not so much that it feels like back to the level of complexity.
That's fair. The scariest one for me in hardcore is like all of the Wisp empowerment is very scary. The exile essences, boss in ritual. Those are like, I haven't taken those now because I feel like that'll be very scary for new characters.
Right. Well, put it this way. If someone's recommending don't take this node, then that's a screw up that we need to improve. Okay. Right? Like it shouldn't be that anyone ever feels that way. And that's what multi-choice nodes are for. So like that's where we want to get to. So it's just a matter of us like going and improving the balance and like fixing things and like just making things multi-choice where necessary and that kind of stuff to make it so that you get to that point.
I've already got a handful on the radar, so we'll just keep doing it until it isn't a problem anymore.
Right.
Awesome. That's really good to hear. I'm happy to hear that. Player defense, which actually I think has improved a lot this league. But I'm particularly curious. I think the main point is Arbiter. That I would like to talk about there.
So I don't know how it is for casual players, but you get a lot of attempts on Arbiter. I was talking to Pestily, and he plays hardcore, and he felt like Arbiter was kind of gatekeeping him away from a lot of the Atlas passive points because he was playing hardcore. Now, I don't think that's a problem personally, and that's what I told him as well. Because I don't think that your casual, newer player would be playing hardcore. And I think the people that are playing hardcore are more experienced and are then capable of handling a boss like that with one life. Whereas casual players, they have multiple attempts, like infinite attempts on the fight. So I don't think it's a problem. Maybe that's a cooked take, but that's my opinion on it.
There's two things. It's like Arbiter is a little bit odd when it comes to defense, where he's sort of, as a hardcore player, I feel I should just drop all my defenses for the most part and try as hard as I can to one-shot the boss, because it's very different than a lot of the other bosses where a lot of the moves are tankable. Like I'm running boss service on Arbiter right now, and I sort of just like respec into the more damage I can get. So I do like one hit on Arbiter basically and he's gone. Because I've tried really hard to tank it, and even right now I have like the companion absorb damage thing, and I don't think I can tank a meteor still. And I think a lot of the meteors make sense not to tank, right? They're quite telegraphed, but he does have that one in stage 2, the move where he does like the fake out beam and he goes the in, out. That also is like a one-shot that is, you know, if you've practiced it a lot, I can do it now, but it is like it just feels a little bit off to me that it doesn't feel like there's much I can do to survive one shot in the fight. Just curious how you guys feel about that. Or actually, I'm curious, how do you feel about the fact that I, as a hardcore player, feel incentivized to drop my defenses for more damage?
Well, I'm all for having boss skills, especially on pinnacle bosses in particular, that are skill checks ahead of, you know, they're like how you play is an important element. And I like that. I don't think that everything should just be.
So there's a couple of things. There's like quite a few things going on here to discuss. So like I guess we just need to handle each one individually, because one of them is.
That's a good question. I think it's very hardcore-esque. I'm very much with Mark, and in softcore, players get infinite attempts on it, which allows player to go through the skill checks. They can fail and try again and try again and try again. Choosing to play hardcore is a choice, and I don't think the game should be balanced around hardcore. Don't get me wrong, like I spent 6 years of my game time in PoE racing in hardcore. Like I played a shitload of hardcore. And I was racing back in the day a lot, and it was very fun. I just don't think the game should be balanced around it. Especially now PoE 2, which is, you know, more about new player acquisition and new player onboarding. That's just my personal take on it. I think that Arbiter is in a really good position when it comes to from a softcore scenario. Hi Lily. Hi. Har du ritat den till mig? Tack så jättemycket. Säg hej till allihopa. Hey, hey. All right, where was I?
Like with the Arbiter in particular, are there just some skills that aren't right now? Because it's possible that they just are in some cases.
Okay. Like let's that combo, for example. Here's a problem with it. And I don't know if we've addressed this now. We were looking into it the other day, like very recently.
I can finally do my login reward. Amazing.
He has his. So it's like some series of attacks where while there's a dropping, what we call like the I guess the meteor is what you were calling it. And then it has a thing where you have to actually run out of the safe zone to dodge the beam, and then you have to quickly roll back in or jump back in before it blows up. There was a problem recently, for example, where if the boss was chilled or temp changed, there wasn't a time window. So his action speed is then reduced, and his beam is based on his action speed. However, the falling meteor is based on raw time, which would mean if he's chilled or temp changed, then your safety window is gone. You just either have to die to the beam or die to the meteor. You pick your death. Now, surviving the beam is probably higher probability, so that's very bad.
So I think point number one is that there are just bugs and skills. But also, so one thing we did actually, by the way, is we had a look at the time that you died. And the thing that you died to, it wasn't that boss, of course. The you know and you were fighting a this random crab in
Oh, my death this thing
from a remnant encounter, and like we looked into that particular crab, and that crab, when it dies, there's this like the normal version of that crab, which is like a fire one from Act 2. It's got this thing where if you kill it while it's charging up, it like fires these like little mortar things that like hit the ground around it. But like that particular thing was bugged in the version that was happening from the remnant encounters. So it was just doing like 20 projectiles immediately. Like they all just hit the ground like pretty much instantly.
If you're standing on that monster when it dies while it's using that skill,
you just die.
You die.
Yeah. And that monster is the highest kill count of any non-boss in the game right now.
No. It's like third.
A third? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
The point is that there are just so like the point I'm trying to make with that is like there's going to be bugs sometimes in in both like boss skills that are new and like boss and like just monster abilities that we have. Or like hell, there was that thing with that frickin'
And this is why we play softcore.
spider, where he was accidentally doing 100 projectiles over 100 milliseconds for a total of 200,000 damage. That like didn't that was not like that on live for very long. Like we found that pretty quickly. but it's like a 200,000 damage hit was not really something that was intended.
Wow.
And like
not from that.
yeah. So like sometimes there's just bugs like that. So like that's thing number one, right? Like we just need to fix those. And the trouble is, of course, in hardcore that it's like you only like just a single bug like that can just ruin a huge amount of time, right? And that sucks. And so that's something that we do. And like no amount of defensive changes would have made you able to deal with the 200,000 damage coming your way.
Yeah.
You know, like that's just like something.
I did watch the clip and I was like, should I have done something different here? So that
no, you did get screwed there for sure. And like, but the thing is that even some of the other things, like when we watched that clip, there was like a couple of other things about those specific monsters. So we like looked into the specific monsters. So the thing we specifically did is we're like, okay, what are the monsters that are killing people the most? Let's go through and see why their abilities are screwed. And they like you found like several things there, if I recall. That, yeah. And like that's just gonna happen because like you know, and in the case of some of these, they're literal typos. Like you can see someone just typed a number in the wrong column and stuff like that. Sometimes you know they're just like, what can you do? Like, and it's really hard because something like no one happened to ever notice that they were on top of one of those crabs when it died, and it did that before, you know, during QA. So
obviously we're quite far away from Arbiter of Ash. We'll circle back to that, but let's go through some of those monsters, for example. So the highest non-unique kill count, and it is, I think, third overall of all kills in the game, is one of the breach monsters. I don't know their actual name. We call it Breach Lunaris monster, but it has like a bunch of spikes and it overextends the spikes and hits the ground, and it does like a barrage of spike attacks, and each of those spikes hits the ground and releases like chaotic sparks. I think while you're in the breach, the chaotic sparks blend in with the ground, with the breach purple, to the point you pretty much can't see them. And so I was looking at it yesterday and I'm like, I reckon you just can't see those projectiles at all when you're doing an actual breach, let alone if there's just ruckus happening. And yeah, pretty much there's a bunch of just chaotic spells coming out doing chaos damage. I mean, chaos damage is a killer for sure, but I saw that and I was like, well, there's just zero visibility here. As far as players are concerned, you're probably just dying to just something. It creates that whole, like, I just died. I don't know what happened. And yep, that monster's bad. It currently checked yesterday, it had 987,000 kills, that one monster. Kind of a lot. What was next? I mean, I'm trying to think what was second. There's a few bosses that are bad. So
is the ultimatum bird high up?
Say again?
Is the ultimatum bird high up?
No, actually, and probably just because it's probably high relative to number of fights, but it's not like raw number of kills.
Yeah, okay.
We did nerf the tracking on that guy's kick attack while you were.
It's not. I wouldn't say you nerfed it. You made it aim the wrong way. He just comes down and just starts kick. I'm like on this side of him, and he just starts kicking over there.
Okay, well, anyway that thing used to track way too hard and was like.
Well, now it doesn't.
Okay, now it's broken.
Now it doesn't
right,
track.
Cool.
It just kicks the opposite direction. Anyway, the other boss, I guess what you'd know as Varana, the Reaper boss. And there's a non-Varana version, the one that's from Stones of Searle that also spawns an endgame. Two abilities on that. It has like a red flash where it red flashes and then deals damage like 300 milliseconds later, and it's like these could be 6. No, it's like 5 lines on the ground in a kind of like semicircle.
So much.
They shotgun. So if you're right next to the boss and you run, you can get hit by all 5. You will die 100%. It also just has no telegraphing time. So in that case, it's like, okay, we're going to make it not shotgun. We're going to add an extra second to the telegraph. And also, it doesn't need to be a red flash. It can just be blocked, etc. Okay. So we're doing that. And then you got like...
The thing that's unique to hardcore is that it only takes one mistake on our part to screw you.
Yeah. And
so it's like, unfortunately, we just have to keep just going through these and finding them, and you know, and that, like, that's just an inherent danger of hardcore. Unfortunately, is like, Now the funny thing is that like, in a PoE 1 context, there's like less monsters getting added in a given.
This interview felt too much about hardcore, but maybe that was the purpose. I mean, we're almost an hour in, halfway through, and Sis is a hardcore player. There's a lot of good stuff so far, but yeah, obviously, some of the questions he has is obviously based on his personal gameplay experience being a hardcore player. There's a lot of hardcore players out there.
League. So you're less likely to just randomly run into like some new monster that just didn't get tested right yet. You know, there's just less monsters getting added and so on, so it's like less of an issue. But in PoE 2, because we're frantically adding so much content, like constantly, it's really easy for us to just miss things. You know, like the number of things like monsters and bosses and stuff that get added is like so insane that it's like you miss. Now, I suspect that that'll settle down a little bit, as like not that we're going to be adding less content exactly, but like it'll probably just be a bit less frantic in terms of like adding stuff that's not getting as much testing as what it needs to get in that kind of context. And as I said, it's so easy to miss these. So that's like giant global point number 1 on like defenses in hardcore as a topic.
Well, yeah, but I also like, I mean, just to quickly fire through it, you got the Wolvenhold boss that appears in maps. He does like a slam and then it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. If you're in that, you die. You get hit like 8 times. If you're right next to him, you're fine. You get hit once. I don't know why. If you're like a little bit away, you'll just get hit many, many, many times. You'll die. He's like number 4 boss. Asmadi, end of part 2 interlude. His dash. I thought it was just an effect. Well, we also looked into it yesterday. If you're close to him, it hits you twice, which is guaranteed death.
I don't even know that. Jesus. No wonder that thing's.
Varana, back to that same boss. It has like a crazy cyclone attack with 0 telegraphing. It just all of a sudden it's doing it, and if you get caught in that stun push as it's pushing you, you will die. None of these are intended, by the way, is what I'm getting with this. So there's like heaps of this, and then there's just a bunch of other monsters as well that are they just delete you.
Are you aware of the expedition boss shotgun?
That's the one he was talking about at the very start. If you're talking about the pinnacle boss with the the literal shotgun.
Yeah.
I already drastically reduced that, but did we patch note that? I feel like we patch noted that. Maybe it isn't. So I, by the way, turned the damage of that, divided the damage by 10, and then divided the projectiles by 2. So it's a 20 times less damage than what it was on release day.
What the fuck?
And people were getting one-shot by it then just by existing. To be fair, it is 50 really small hits. So it's very, very armor mitigatable, at least.
Yeah.
If you get hit by all 50, of course. You'd have to be in a very... I don't know if that's actually possible. You might just still get hit by a chunk. But yes, that was dealing... That was the one that was doing 200,000 damage, give or take.
Right.
Now, you could understand now if it's divided by 20 and you get hit by all of them, well, that's still 10,000 damage, but that was that was 200,000 damage, 0 defenses, by the way, just to be clear. So any evasion, any armor.
I never had an issue with that because we had evasion and the hits that did hit deflected.
If you get hit by all of them and you have only 10k ES, I guess you still die.
Yeah.
Anyway, some of these need a little bit of look at, but like when I see that just insta-killing people on day 1, it's just like, holy crap, go change some numbers quick. I don't want like the reputation of the boss to just be it's one-shotting everyone. So that one's more urgent, but yes. Anyway, all these monsters and bosses that I was just talking about, we have like a pretty big list.
Okay.
There's a point in where, let's say I talked about that 980,000 kills, which was obviously a cool stat, but like I would say the top 15 of all monsters in the game, you know, well, let's say that rank 16 on that list has about 300,000 kills. So it goes from 300,000 to 900,000 kills, or more like 1 million kills in that list. Over 15 monsters. And it really is just, unfortunately, 3 of them are in Runes of Elder encounters. So, and they're all crabs, I think. These crabs just happen to be OP. But the point is, it's like, and especially because you're doing that area to area, you will encounter it enough where you're just like, what's going on here? I'm just like getting killed and it feels like there's nothing I can do about it all the time. So we're going to address a lot of those, and I have asked for the stats to be automated now such that like every day after League, I'm effectively getting a center report of all the monsters that have killed all the players just to help mitigate it. But obviously the best thing to do would be to prevent the mistakes from happening at all.
It
can just be quite hard.
There's a lot of numbers that go into a monster, and only one of them being wrong can be the result. So, you know. And then especially because of the fact that like it's incredibly build sensitive too, there's just a lot of things you'll just never run into unless you're playing the right build. Like you're not standing on top of the crab, you know. Then you don't die. So
So my hope with all that to tie into defenses is to get rid of all the anomalies that effectively invalidate defenses because they wouldn't have worked because the balance is so out of whack that there's kind of nothing you could do. That's stuff that's just mistakes on our end, and I feel like getting rid of the majority of those will help a ton with making it actually feel like if you invest in defenses that are actually you feel tanky.
Yeah.
However, circling back to Arbiter of Ash, which I know is your initial question, again, I am of the personal opinion that I believe that skill-based one-hits are fine. I like
they're
them.
the well telegraphed.
I agree with that.
There needs to be a specific thing. But just to be clear about this as well, like it is the expectation that if you're playing hardcore, you probably can't just walk into a pinnacle that having never seen anything about it before and expect that you're going to be able to dodge everything flawlessly, because like there are things you will have to know about. So what I'm saying, I guess, there is that like it is the expectation. Like, so if you're playing Sofka, obviously then the expectation is you don't have to research the boss. You can just walk in, you're going to die a few times, and then it's going to be okay, right? Obviously in hardcore you can't deal with that, right? So you're going to have to research the boss to be able to deal with it, because there are like, you know, long telegraphs of things that you need to be able to dodge properly. And so yes, you do need some of that stuff.
Yeah, I agree with that. And
yeah, I mean,
that is the boss I'm farming right now. It was more the question of the fact that I feel like I should be dropping all my defenses. Because
I mean that definitely doesn't seem good for sure. Like turning yourself into a glass cannon like that doesn't seem right. But the question is, what can we do about it?
Yeah, it's a tough one because like Maven in PoE 1 has a lot of one shots, right? She has like the brain blast and failing the memory game, which feel very telegraphed. And actually, that's one of my favorite bosses. I really like Maven. Whereas like the Arbiter, it feels like almost everything is a one shot. It doesn't feel like
Did he just say that Maven is his favorite boss fight? What the fuck's this? Brother, we need to have a conversation about this, dude. What the fuck? That is a wild take.
it doesn't feel like it's pinnacle move that's one shotting me. It feels like almost everything one shots me, and a lot of it is quite telegraphed. But just because of that, I'm like full invested into damage when I'm doing Ash, so I'm literally one shotting him. I guess that's the main point I wanted to discuss.
Mean, if you can one shot, he can one shot, right? Fair trade.
That's fair. I was just
How are you looking at it?
No. I mean, so okay, removing the meteor and the like lane wave ability from him. Do you think his other skills are not in the right spot? Is that what you're saying?
So,
when you say everything in one shot?
What you're saying there is that those are the two skills that are intended to one-shot people, right?
Yes.
So that's the one-shots we want. The rest we don't.
I think the corridors used to be a problem. I think we've done a really good job with those now, because they used to be able to sort of spawn where you couldn't get in range sometimes, and the fact that they were one-shotting then was a bit of a problem. I think the meteors that are going down, most of the time they can sometimes still be a little bit like bad spawn points on them. I personally I'm a big fan of like some sort of debuff. So like if you've invested a lot, like say 90 fire rest and you have 5k life, maybe you should be able to tank one meteor, but not two. Like it comes with a big debuff. Something like that.
I mean,
is he talking about like spike debuff from Lilith in D4? Like you're not supposed to tank the waves on that fight, but they changed it, so now you can take like 1 or 2 or 3 hits. But every time you take a hit, you get a ramping damage increase taken debuff. So eventually, you are gonna get one shot if you take more hits. I think that's what he's talking about. I actually kind of like that.
Possibly. I was more thinking outside of those two skills. Do you think he's balanced?
Yeah, it's mostly yes.
Okay, so if you weren't capable, I guess that's the risk of going full glass cannon anyway. There is if you weren't capable to kill him before those things happen, then you would have to deal with his other abilities, which would obviously be rough. But okay. I mean, I don't want to say these things are perfect, and we've obviously iterated on them. But however, I do really enjoy doing the fight, which is why I'm like, I don't know, like. I understand these things are always divisive, but it can be that it's different. Like, okay, now that it's you know, a mid boss in the quest line, for example, of the end game, I could see a need for some changes for that specific version. But if someone wants to build their character a specific way to optimize killing a specific boss of which they are specifically target farming, I am 100% okay with that as well. That being said, I understand it's distasteful that it's just get as much damage as possible, sacrificing everything else at all costs. But technically, every fight is that to some degree. Like, you just insta-phase everything, and everything's completely fine. So, like, it is a tricky question, and I don't think in that case it's even necessarily specific to Arbiter of Ash. I think I agree on most others. Specking tanky is an option, but generally speaking, if you can insta-kill a boss, that is the safest defense of all time.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I don't know.
There's another topic on defenses that I want to mention, which is basically understanding what killed you, which is, you know, something that I think as well that we need to work on.
Is this coming back to the death screen topic?
Like, for a death recap.
Yeah,
and that is something that I traditionally have kind of been a bit, I don't really know if I want this. But I do actually now would say that I have passed the point of believing that this is something that we probably should have. And in particular, the thing that I want to be able to do is communicate, like, here is what your defenses actually did, right? Like, and thus you can see, like, what was the part of this. Like, I think that's the part that, to me, that matters, that I want to actually communicate to someone, is like, the reason that, like, to try and get across to you, the reason that you died is because you didn't have enough fire resist or something like that. Or the reason that you died is because you were shocked. Like, these are things that I kind of want to try and get someone to, like, to understand. But the other part as well, I think, is the idea of, like, ideally there would be some way to understand, like, okay.
That is such a cool thing that Jonathan is now persuaded or gotten to the point where he thinks that this is a good thing for the game. Because we really want this. LE has it, and, you know, I think it would be such a cool thing to understand what's actually killing us. Does any other developer have a conversation like this with streamers or people in general? I'm genuinely just wondering. I mean, Darth and I have our Tavern Talk podcast. We had an interview with Jonathan and Mark before the league launched. We've had interviews with other developers. Last one we had was the No Rest for the Wicked, for example. Thomas Mahler. We interviewed him. We've had multiple devs from Last Epoch on our Tavern Talk as well. Like, we've had plenty of developers from other game companies on interviews.
The reason why this felt like a one-shot to you was actually because you started before that point where that hit you. You actually had, like, you know, 30% life or something like that, and you just didn't notice, which is like another thing that can be an issue. Yeah. So that's the sort of thing that I would hope that something like a death recap would be able to address. So that's something that I am sort of on board with doing, but it's like, it's going to take quite a lot of finesse and, like, UI and all that sort of stuff to actually get to the point of being able to communicate that really well. Because, like, those are the specific things I want people to understand when they're doing this, is like, yeah, what was actually the cause of this? Now, obviously in a hardcore context, that's less relevant. But the other thing that it could do is, like, actually surface when things are broken to us, but more specifically, because it might be possible for us to therefore see, like, oh, this thing that killed you did, like, a clearly unreasonable amount of damage. Like, now it's something that people can actually report, as opposed to, like, having absolutely no idea. So that's something that could also potentially help with in the other situation as well.
To be clear, this is more than theoretical. We do have a not good enough version of it on our local realm already. But it is very much not good enough.
Yeah. I was worried about saying that because it means people are expecting it, like, next week, which it certainly won't be. But look, I put it this way: I appreciate the need for something like this as a form of, like, being able to be able to understand, like, especially, like, what were my defenses even doing in this situation. You know, like did it wasn't even helping me at all. So yeah, that is something that is on the cards for us to, like, to try and think about.
Very good. I know we're almost out of time here. But
so Darth and I have this exact same thing when we interview Jonathan and Mark. About an hour in, we're like, okay, let's try to speed up so we can wrap this up to, you know, respect their time. And every time we reach that point, we're halfway through. I just looked at the timer. We're halfway through when he said we're almost out of time. It's the exact same procedure. I fucking love it.
There's a few points in the game right now, and I would say, especially when, how do I phrase this? When going from, like, the interlude or, like, early maps, I end up on hardcore having, like, let's say 1.7k life and thereabouts. And I I try to have like a lot of defense investment where I can on hardcore, but I feel like there's some awkward points in the game right now where I just like can't, like I don't have enough agency over my defense, and I sort of can't invest in it enough, and I end up even at tier 15 maps. If I have 1.7k life in tier 1 maps, I might have 2.5k in tier 15 maps. I just feel like I'm not really able to put enough investment into it. Where previously in PoE 1, there's the life on the tree, there's resist on the tree. Right. We don't have anything to like patch it up, so to speak. We don't have that like intermittent defense.
So this has been talked about multiple times, right? The whole life situation or the discussion. And what they've consistently have been saying is they talked about the idea of, hey, we just need to mitigate more damage. I have played builds with 20,000 plus energy shield. My character currently has 2,000 life. Well, this one has 2,100 energy shield as well as a buffer. I've never been tankier. On the monkey build, I had 1,900 HP, and the highest I had was 2,300 HP. No energy shield. And I was practically unkillable. So, I don't know, man. I think it's like, I've never been tankier.
Which usually, for the end game, very often I would say go energy shield. Energy shield's still very strong. But there's like that awkward stage where I don't have enough control over my defense.
And you reckon that that's kind of like mid maps? That's the kind of like,
I'd say like
what you're saying just then?
Early maps, I think energy shield defense is in a really good spot. I have a lot of like, whether I want to go evasion,
thanks so much for 5 gifts.
Or just stack really, really high ES. Like energy shield is obviously very strong. But for life, there are builds, by the way, that are really good as life stackers and stuff. But I just feel like there's quite a few builds that I've just been unsure what to do. Even on my minion summoner, until I found refutation, I was in a little bit of an awkward stage, and I was like, what do I do now?
I actually think that it kicks in earlier as well, by the way. I think that the late campaign suffers from this problem as well, right. Where the average value of your item obviously goes up to the point you get more rares, you get more mods, you end up with like a decent amount of resistances, and now you get that thing where I have to trade off my resistances. Like I've seen 70 rare body armors or something by some point. That number is not accurate. And I found the best one, and now every single one has to compete with the best sample size of all of those. And so I do think even late campaign, you can craft to solve your defenses, but then you're costing life and resistances, and you get this thing where you can't, it really becomes really, really difficult to make the trade-off. And I think that, I mean, even you said as well that the value of rare items in the latter half of the campaign starts to diminish, and there's some problem here where really early it feels really impactful, and then it kind of just slowly goes kind of downhill as to trying to solve these problems. So I agree with them.
On some level, it's hard to address the specific thing you're talking about there, though, because like you're just seeing a lot of rares. And at some point, like you have to filter through more of them to be able to get something that's an upgrade.
Where things like essences are meant to come into play, right? It's where some of these crafting mechanisms are meant to help. But also runes and things like that. Runes are like, you know, I don't know if you noticed, we did kind of buff some of the like defensive runes in 050 because they were not really. I mean, the intent was to help with this. Maybe it didn't go quite far enough. Maybe we need more avenues. Again, as I said, some of the essences, I mean, overall, essences can be quite useful, but I would say some of them don't hit the mark, especially as their usefulness when they should. There's some tools missing for sure, especially how rare they are. Like, if I'm talking late campaign, you're not necessarily, you can't just be like, okay, I'm going to go get this essence. Like, that's not a thing you can say. So there are some issues here, 100%. But yeah, it is quite tricky to solve for sure.
I mean, a lot of people in response to this will say to us, and this is a really common thing, of you should just put life back on the tree. And the reason why we don't want to do that is just because we're really critically afraid of getting to a situation that we had in PoE 1, where if you don't know to allocate life on the tree, you are just screwed. Like, there is no possibility that you can survive.
I think that's a fair argument.
That's always been our concern. We just don't want to get back to that situation again of like you just have to know to do that. And I do think that in that regard, like PoE 2 does like have the situation where you can be you can take the tree a little bit more face value. Like you don't have to specifically know exactly what to do, and still be successful. Now, obviously, there is like you need stuff where you've got builds that are good and people do like have their build files and to tell each other how to do things, and that's obviously still important. There's still a lot going on there. Like I wouldn't say that we've gotten to the point where that's not required. We're far from that.
Yeah.
But I do think that just like the ability to just like get through the campaign without like by taking the tree at face value is something important. And the worry is that if life is on the tree, we have to balance for life being on the tree. Now you must allocate life on the tree. And now like you've just got this noob trap that you can fall into. So the hope is that we can solve it without having to resort to that.
Well, I do have a counter question there. Like, obviously, Energy Shield is on the tree, which is what makes a lot of us pivot into Energy Shield. But even if it's not meant that you're take life on the tree, you are meant to take defense on the tree, right? Like, you're always supposed to make a balanced character.
I guess the assumption there is that taking defenses in general is more obvious to a player than what taking the right ratio of life and other defensive stuff was, I suppose. Like, so yeah, I mean, I guess that's the theory of this.
Right.
I mean, this entire conversation comes down to how people are. And I didn't agree with this statement, but basically the conversation goes like this, where the argument is this: life is life. Energy shield is the same thing as evasion and armor. And in the beginning, like in the past, I've been like, no, because you can do energy shield without armor evasion, having it replace life. Then energy shield is closer associated with life than it is with armor. It's not mitigation. Life is not mitigation. Energy shield is not mitigation. Armor evasion is mitigation or damage avoidance. And then the argument was that, well, if you do a life-based character, you're supposed to mitigate damage. Now, again, I showed you earlier, my character in game right now has 2,000 HP and 2,100 energy shield. And it's one of the tankiest builds I played. The monkey build didn't even have energy shield and had about 2,000 HP. And I've never been tankier. I played builds with over 20,000 energy shield that was not as tanky as that character. And that is because of high evasion with deflection. When I finally did take a hit, I would mitigate the majority of that damage. And when I didn't take the damage, I would just evade the damage and not take the damage at all. I couldn't do that with the energy shield build. Every hit would hit me. So I mean, I don't know. It's a tough topic, but the more I've played and the better they balanced evasion, the better that has felt. I'm not sure how armor feels right now because armor's really good on smaller hits, but less effective on bigger hits, I guess. But evasion, in my opinion, is crazy good right now.
Slightly hard for me to to explain the
loyalty
is
big
quite
as
similar.
Fuck,
I
yeah.
agree. And ES being most comparable to life, it's like seems like, well, yeah, you just take ES nodes, right? I mean, it's sort of similar, but somehow like there is some kind of difference there. I feel like we've talked about this one before.
Multiple times.
I mean, it comes up a bunch, but like I still believe that the fundamental problem that's causing this is on the itemization level.
Right.
And so I want to fix that first before adding in alternate ways to potentially mitigate. I mean, yes, having a bunch of life on the tree will have to change the balance of the game. It will, and it won't. That will then punish people one way or the other. I really think it has to be solved in the items. And I think part of, okay, so let's say you invest in a bunch of your defenses on the, let's say you just playing evasion, and you invest in a bunch of evasion, and you get a, decent body armor at level 30. That body armor is probably not good at level 50, and you want to increase your base. And you're like, okay, I can now, probably, as I was saying before, you have to pick, do I want evasion or do I want resistances? Because getting both is very, very hard. And, obviously losing, like, say, 30% resistance X is, like, pretty brutal. And, to trade that for some amount of evasion, now that evasion is probably more worthwhile, but it's also just quite hard to quantify that in the moment and understand which is better. And so, yeah, there's, like, whereas early game, the base type, very, very early game, you don't need defensive affixes on your items. The base type can have quite a lot of impact. And as the base type's importance falls away and the modifiers increase in importance, it just becomes very, very hard to get an item that covers all of those defensive bases. And I think that if that, like, when I look at that, I'm like, there aren't enough tools to solve this problem. And I honestly think like Act 3 onwards is where this starts to really kick into gear, become a problem more and more and more and more. And then from there, it's ultimately, I would say, unless you're getting kind of lucky, you know, mostly downhill with respect to trying to identify how to solve survivability problems. But I do think it is solvable. It's a bit tricky because it's like, which of these axes do you target? But like, it isn't impossible by any means. Like it require a conversation or two, but I do believe we can do it. But yeah, I mean, that's the way I see it, and I don't want to resort to the Band-Aid or what I would perceive as a Band-Aid without first addressing what I believe is the problem. And maybe in that discussion, we're like, you know what, it is fine. Let's make the Band-Aid a proper fix or something like that. Not to say life on the tree is the Band-Aid, by the way, just one of many Band-Aids. But it seems very solvable to me, but I get why people are asking for passive tree, like effectively just passive tree survivability, right? I get it. That isn't...
I see a discussion in chat talking about armor. The problem with armor, especially the armor mitigation on elemental damage, where you have a percent of your armor is mitigating elemental damage before resistances hits, is the nature of the mitigation that armor is actually doing. So if you are getting hit with a 1,000 hits that all do 1 damage, and you have a shitload of armor, you're not going to take any damage. Like, you're actually not going to take any damage. If you get hit by 1 hit that is doing 100,000 damage, the same amount of armor that completely mitigated all of the damage from the small hits are now barely going to mitigate anything from that big hit, and you will just die. Whereas you have like evasion, there's a damage avoidance layer to it. Now you'd have like a high chance of not taking the damage at all. And then due to deflection is if you then happen to take the damage, there's a 95% chance that you take half of that damage straight off the bat. That's your mitigation. But armor is better than before, but the problem with armor is that the harder the hit you take, the less effective your armor is in mitigating it. So the harder the hit is, the even more armor is required for you to mitigate it. And that's also why the armor applying to mitigating elemental damage is pretty bad, because it's before resistances. So let's say you get hit by 20,000 fire damage. 75% is going to be mitigated by your resistances, unless you have higher res, right? But your armor is going to need to mitigate that. Now, there are considerably more tools in the game now in 0.5 to help with this. I think armor is much better in a current state than it was before. Before, you had less available options to get those mitigation stats, that it was very hard to reach a level of point where the mitigation would actually be noticeable, or rather effective, to mitigating that elemental hit before it was then mitigated by your elemental resistances. Now in 0.5 we have a lot more tools to solve that, which is making armor considerably better. And I think armor's pretty decent right now, but I think evasion deflection is just absolutely busted. That's my current take on the topic. But just so people understand that the harder the hit you take, the higher armor you need to mitigate properly for that damage.
Just the core defenses. I just believe that I want to rule out or prove right or wrong, one way or the other, that the problem is actually in the gear. And well, more so the crafting of the gear.
Even some like temporary res on the tree would be nice. That you like, you know, because then you're like incentivized to get rid of that later, to get better, to like get it through gear, to get those skill points back. But, you know, right now you're so hard. It feels like you're solving too many issues very early on.
So that's the runes, right? The runes is meant to be you resistance your gear, and then later on you replace them with things that aren't resistances.
Yeah.
If that isn't solving the problem well enough, and I think it does early, very, very early again, maybe the mid-tier and high, and maybe the one in between lesser and greater, and the greater runes aren't providing enough power there, and I would rather do it there since that tool is already available. Like they're 18% resist right now at greater. Is that enough? maybe, maybe not. You know, like it's kind of hard to say. Or is it a matter of needs to be better ones that are rarer that give more, but then that's the rarity problem. And so, but then what I would like it to be is that essences combined with runes is enough to solve most of those holes in your character, like straight up on the gear and the sockets, of course. So if that isn't doing that, I think that needs to change. Otherwise, what are they doing?
Yeah.
I know they're not doing nothing, but
100%. I know we're short on time, so I want to have one final question.
I mean, we can keep going for a bit. Like, it's okay. You know,
okay, sweet. Yeah, I have a big list of cool things to talk about. The thing that I really wanted to talk about next was the extra like surprises, like the secrets and stuff. That has been one of the coolest things I've
love
ever
this shit.
seen.
The martyr and stuff has been amazing,
like,
dude.
The martyr thing, I think for me is either a rank 1 or rank 2 coolest thing I've ever seen in a game. I woke up and I saw that and I was like, what the fuck? That is so sick. And there's so much of it this league. There's so many secrets. Can you just talk a little
Okay, so for those of you who don't know, I'm going to show you in game real, not too much. This is going to be a long video as it is. When someone reaches level 100, the first character reaches level 100, they can go to this place, Site of the Chosen. And you can sacrifice your level 100 character. And the first player to do this in each league will make it so that everyone in that league can go to Site of the Chosen, go all the way to the top, and there will be a little bubble you can click that's a Martyr of the Chosen or whatever it is. You click on that, you get a free passive skill point to your character. Just like that. There's someone, I believe is number 1 here, Resurrect God Aura, was the first one in softcore trade to do this, and Karn did it in the hardcore one, right? Only one player sacrificed, so he sacrifices his character. I mean, we sacrifice him. That character gets voided out of existence. He can no longer play his level 100 character. But everyone in the entire game can now go to Site of the Chosen, go all the way to the top, and you will just click a button and you get a free passive skill point for everyone in the entire league, for the rest of this league. I think that was such a fucking cool thing. Such a cool thing.
What about like how you guys felt like the reception from community has been? Like that's been just so cool.
I
take over the team kind of thing,
that stuff and seeing the community discover it is honestly one of the most fun things for us, like to just see. Like it's something. It's like. It's funny, right? Because the 050 release itself, I get like way less enjoyment out of that than I do just like some random guy like being like exclaiming when he like finds the hidden door that goes to the thing to craft the taming.
Yeah,
like I
that was so
video,
sick.
I'm like, yeah, that's that's so cool. You know, like the stuff. So yeah, we're really enjoying doing that stuff, and I'm sure we will be doing more of it as well. Like it's just really fun. One of the challenges we've had is like making sure it doesn't get too data mined beforehand. So there's like a few things like that we have to worry about.
Yeah, like the tame. Now I can say it because I'm going to not allow that happen in the future. But the taming, if you were to data mine or be doing something, you know, slightly less legitimate, the bench for the taming is called Barracks Crafting Bench or something. And so I was like, no, it's like so obvious they're going to find it like day one by using some tools or something not legal, you know, and then But thankfully it didn't happen.
But I was also really worried that the Martyr thing was going to be spoiled by just various strings that are in the client that relate to the things. Like that dialog box that it says talks about permanently destroying your character. Like that's just in the client somewhere. So I was like really worried someone was going to find that and be like questioning it, but it turns out that no one really did.
Yeah.
It's just like little things like that we just have to. But it is really fun. I really enjoy it.
I just want to pay some respects for the Standard League's first Martyr, who silently offed his character, and everyone got the bonus, and no one saw or mentioned anything, and no one seemed to know. He had a Korean name. Whoever you are, and all the Standard League players, they owe you some level of respect. And he did it very early, and he was like ranked 782 on the ladder, and we were like, okay, I guess no one cared.
Unfortunately, the community team didn't know about it. And so then when it happened in...
Oh, no!
Oh, lost.
What happened?
What happened?
Okay, at least you guys are still there. I thought it fully disconnected.
Okay. I'm not sure what happened there. Anyway,
I can't see the camera though.
So, no, we're good now. All right. Hopefully, you can hear us still.
I can still hear you, just can't see you. Oh, I see you again.
I'm trying to fix it.
They're trying to fix it. All right. Cool. Anyway, so yeah, unfortunately the community team didn't know that there was that person who'd done stat, and part of the reason for that is because there's a thing with the ladder where if they don't appear in the top 10, then it only shows it when you go to the full ladder screen. So there's like kind of a bug with that we'll need to fix. So it meant that the community team wasn't aware that someone had actually already done this stat, and no one else seemed to know either. Like it was like that for like at least a day. Like I only noticed it like a day before the other one started happening. So yeah, so some respect to that guy who actually did it first. But then after the cat got out of the bag, there's obviously a huge rush
guys, can we get a clap to the channel for the Mr. Korean guy who was the first person to off his character? Just get a clap to the channel for him. Gotta pay some goddamn respects to him. Just clap to the channel, boys. Gotta show some fucking respect to this guy.
But yeah, honestly, like that was one of the ideas that I really, really enjoyed that we came up with. And
we had a few alternatives.
Yeah, we had some other ideas that were way more terrible that other people in our studio were very unhappy with when we suggested them.
The first one was you could effectively do what we had, but you'd get put into a divine league, a divine version of the league.
Yeah.
And then all items would drop with the divine flag, and I think the initial idea was that you get +2 ascendancy points from level, so you have to start again from level 1. You're in your own league with only players who hit 100 and ascended.
Yeah.
And you get +2 ascension points, but everyone was like, no, we can't have it that you have to do this to have the most powerful character in the game.
Yeah, exactly. And it was there. So the idea we eventually went with was much better than that one. It was much better than that one.
And then the second idea, I was like, this is part of
that's like new game plus one mode.
Some of this started was. It was what happens if you try to sacrifice the defenses of Tabula Rasa.
No. People, you say that we want that. It would create this scenario where every veteran player would want to do that. And it would create this new game plus meta scenario where every veteran player would do that instead of playing the regular league. And it would not be good for the community. It sounds cool on paper, but if you stop for 2 seconds, take a breather and just think about it, it's not good. It would be terrible.
The Ad Runic ward. And it was like, well, what if it just like, and then I was like, okay, then if you equip it, then you get to synthesis like there's nowhere. Like, I don't know. We went on some down some deep hole, but that eventually translated back to it'd be nice if the first edict actually did something,
So there's still one secret I believe that no one's got yet, and I think that might be because there was something broken about it initially.
Oh.
Has that been sorted yet?
All the attainable ones that I'm aware of.
Okay, but I think there was one that's broken.
I forgot about a lot of them. And then the community discovered it. I'm like, oh yeah, we did that. What the heck? So I honestly don't know anymore.
I think there is one that maybe is broken currently that we still need to fix, and maybe that's when
there is one that isn't working properly yet.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Still one more, but, we won't tell you guys when we patch it in. So
I had a question about secrets. Am I remembering right that there was? I can't remember if it was one of you guys or Chris that talked about this back in the day, but was there a lost PoE 1 secret that you guys weren't sure if got discovered or not? So I was wondering, have you guys written down all the new secrets just to make sure?
I honestly, we haven't. Like it's possible that we would just forget about something and not know about it anymore. But honestly, there's so much random stuff left and just sitting in our data files that it's like there's a shocking amount of stuff that is incomplete or intended to be resurrected or things that people can't remember anymore and that kind of thing. So, you have enough developers and enough years of development and you'll get all sorts of stuff like that.
Well,
it's cool though. It's honestly some of the most fun. Like every day, I was like /ladder. Is someone 100 yet? I want them to discover this. Hurry up! I was like, wow, why are they not at level 100 yet?
It's very cool. I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
Another thing I was curious about, obviously we're getting to more of a biome feeling now. Like the world feels a lot more alive. It's a lot more fun to engage with and discover things. How do I phrase this? Do you think you'd ever do randomized events or even events that are temporary? That's not something we've really ever seen before.
We're interested. We've discussed stuff like this. Like the Atlas certainly being like a space like that does open up us up to the idea that we could do kind of more things along those lines. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, we obviously don't have anything like that yet. But yeah, I think that we should probably be doing some things like that in the future. We just,
I mean, it's an inevitability. Like, come on, it'll happen. It's just what form it takes and all of that. I just, we'll have to see.
But I think it would be cool to do some things like that.
Same with like, I want to use Abyss here as an example because I thought that looked so cool, with like the Quest Abyss thing. And right now, when you're putting down the breach thing and the ritual thing, you have to like stamp it in a certain location. Do you think you'd ever do something like that? You just see like a huge abyss biome, and you go like, a streamer will go like, look at this abyss biome, right? It's like 40 maps wide. Like a little bit of that like discovery feeling. Is that like something you'd like the idea of?
Yeah, I mean, I actually had wanted to put abysses like there was originally supposed to be more than just the quest abyss there. There was supposed to be other ones that you would find just as you're exploring in the infinite. But we just didn't get time to quite implement that. But that's something that we'll probably will do. Like it needs
So cool.
it should have that because all of the other leagues do have Atlas mechanics, so we do want to do stuff like that.
Yeah, like a giant fissure opening up like in the world near where you're mapping is like quite a cool thing to fantasize. Like, whoa, what the hell? I want to go there, and so I mean, and that,
I like this.
It's not that hard, but it just didn't quite make it. So hopefully next.
Speaking of fissure opening,
but in general though, we do want to make sure that there are Atlas mechanics for all the leagues we do going forward. Like we just like the Atlas is part of the thing. Like having things that can happen on the Atlas is definitely a really cool part of leagues. So we'll be doing more of that.
Yeah, no, I gotta say, in the start, I was not the biggest fan of the Open Atlas, and now I'm like, I don't actually not sure what day it is right now because I've been just slamming like 18, 19 hours a day. So
what day is it today?
It's great.
Tuesday.
Let's see. How do you feel about the current state of like found versus crafted gear? I know we have like the tiered loot as well. We don't really have like drop only modifiers at the moment. Not much, at least.
I guess this is always a constant back and forth battle with crafted versus drop because like there's one of those things where like if drop stuff is better than crafted, then people will say like crafting sucks, you need to improve crafting, and then the other can go the other way around as well. We're definitely we tilted the balance back a little bit to drop again this one because by nerfing the drop rate of perfect currency, so like that was the part of the intention of like trying to get that back a little bit, especially in the kind of mid-end game. So the hope is that we've like restored some of the balance a bit, but it's like a constant battle. I know that it's interesting though, because we were talking about this and I was kind of asserting that like, oh, the tiered mod stuff should be good. And you were kind of doubting that for a while, but then recently you did some experiments and found that maybe they are better than what you'd given them credit for.
The way that some of us are currently playing the league, so we're doing our maps and we're getting, let's say 7 to 10 raw divine per map, right? Per invested map, right? That's like what we're probably about getting. Of just currency drops, right? Of just actual,
This is using your patented juicing strategy,
fungibles
right?
on the ground. Yeah, I mean, sometimes more.
Yep.
Okay.
The thing is, what I wasn't doing at the start, and it kind of became more of a thing, is now you go in with, I don't know, 120 wisdom scrolls. You go in with, a bunch of greater transmutes orgs, nothing too extreme. And you honestly, I would say that we pick up and identify, 300 items per map, let's say. And as soon as you get, and I mean, like, I got a pair of gloves yesterday, for example. I ID'd it. It had T1 rarity, T1 energy shield. And then you do like 3 crafting operations on it, which you can just do in the map. You can just do 1 or 2 of them, and if you don't land, you just throw it on the floor. And then it often involves, essencing in some contexts. You have, even if it's just like double exaltations, you have, and then you go and desecrate it, and so you don't have to use ancients every time. And then like that pair of gloves is, 45 to 60 divines now, give or take. And it's not like I landed full T1s. It's just that, like, good ES gloves are expensive right now. And so you filter for the right base types and the right tiers. You get a lot of them. You just craft them live in the map. You can go dump tab them and do it all later, but like whatever, we're just doing it as we go. And honestly, I would say you can easily take another like 30 plus divine out of the map just worth of gear, just picking up anything that's T2 to T5 of the right base types of the meta build characters. And so sure, like things like talismans aren't worth a hell of a lot right now, but like spears, quarterstaffs, you know, obliterator bows, you know, all these things, right? You just pick them up, craft them live. It's a bit to get your head around. Like, you know, even couple of the guys in the office were like, I was like, what would you do to this? And they're like, do this, then this, then this, then this. I'm like, oh, Jesus. Okay, I didn't even think.
And this is why it's important to learn how to craft basics in the game. That's why we have this video, which is an hour-long crafting guide where you can learn how to craft games in Path of Exile 2. And if you learn how to craft the basics, finding these bases will give you the information and knowledge to know what you can do with those items. Because I remember, like, you can pick up blue items with one modifier and be like, oh, that's a good tier. It's a T1 of a good modifier and a good base. Okay, well, I'll just put a perfect augment. Oh, I got another T1 mod. Oh my god, look at the prices of it. A blue base can sell for multiple divines. You just have to learn how to craft. That's why we made that video.
So, like, yeah, you even even then you get your head around it. But, like, honestly, you can, like, 10x your value you're taking out of the map by just picking up all the tiered gear if you want. Now, yeah, that takes a bit of time. You could also just pick it all up, stash it. You can just leave and come back as many times as you want, right? Chuck it all in there and then just do a whole big identifying crafting spree later if you want. But like, I was like, tiered gear sucks, and then now I'm playing and I'm like, holy shit, how is anyone not doing this? And it's honestly crazy. It's you just get
there is a thing there for sure where like currency is so easy to know that it's valuable, and so it's just an easier time to just like pick up all the currency and assume that the gear is crap. But there is definitely some value there if you know what to look for, but it is a much more complicated process, and I can certainly see why people are less keen to engage with that. So it's like, when you look at it from that perspective, saying that like that crafting is better than picking up gear is like, well, certainly crafting is like picking up gear and understanding what's valuable and so on is just a much more complicated way to go about your life. So like, it's just that there's certain, like, I think it would take a lot to make it so that the overall perception is that ground loot is better, because of the fact that it has such a higher like skill ceiling in order to require to know what actually to find. And so that's like the challenge that you have of like trying to shift that perception.
But I mean, even just finding the right item with the right mod, and like fracturing orbs are quite valuable, affordable this league. Just go and drop a fracture. And if you happen to fracture the right mod, then, you know, you could 20x your, well, more than 20. You could probably 200x the actual value of the item. I've seen a lot of that. I mean, that's something I've actually seen coming from the Breach tree, the Genesis tree as well, as you're getting base types. If you get the right base type with the right T1 affix, the rest of the item is terrible, the value of the item, like, I mean, I've seen items 10 divine plus, and it's just a base type with one mod, and not even a rare mod at that, just for fracturing. And then obviously people like you want 3 mods with 1 desecrated mod, and then you have, you know, you'll try and fracture that, and if it fails, you can probably just throw it on the floor, but like whatever, or just slam it and hope for the best. But like, even that gets you so much value. I've actually been like quite impressed how much of the different content with its different axes has different ways of making money. It's been quite like, okay, like Abyss, right? You've got the freaking not that it's enjoyable, and I am improving that mod. That's the darkness light catastrophe.
Oh, right.
But you can farm like so the pinnacle boss of Abyss not really worth that much, but the farming those omens is worth a ton. Breach, there's so much from the tree that's worth a lot. The thing in itself is valuable. You know, even through to the right grasping males and whatnot. You have Ritual, obviously, right? Infinite shopping for Headhunter Mage Blood. Sorry, not infinite. You have... I don't like talking about the temple, but the temple has its good perks. The temple... The temple, by the way, I know we nerfed it recently and there was a bit of a like, yay, let's not have that again. The temple ruined
Thank
Christmas for me. Like, I don't want, I don't want another freaking that temple destroyed me.
I have bad news.
Anyway, that's random.
I think people are broken the temple again.
It's good, but
Like
it
today.
doesn't seem that out of what we've been looking at doesn't seem that out of control.
Okay.
Well, how recent is this news?
I think it's rank. I think it's rank 30 right now of the most. Like the average value of the rewards coming from a temple is 30th on the ranking of of different strategies. So, and yes, we're looking at that.
Okay.
However, it doesn't require any monetary investment, so it being good is okay, but it being the best is definitely not okay.
Yeah.
But like,
I'm not sure how good it is. It's just that's something I've seen a lot in my chat today. Someone was like, at least 10 different people were like, ... the economy is going to be ruined again. People are templing, and it was something new today.
We can look at that again, but I have a feeling it's not nearly on the same level as what we've like, not even in the same universe as what was a thing.
Yeah.
I'll
just wanted to make sure to bring it up.
We now, because of this bloody temple, have way more active stats for checking how many items of whatnot are dropping in certain instances and all of this. And I swear, if the temple's #1 on that list again, I've already had one Christmas ruined by this. I don't want.
But yeah, like one of the explicit goals we had at the start of 050 was make it so that all leagues have stuff that is valuable, that like is a reason to farm them and like to actually keep going. Because I feel like the state we're in before.
So wait, so I'm watching this the day after this interview. Like 12 hours later or something. Was there a nerf after this? After this interview? Oh, there was.
There just wasn't that sort of compelling reason to do all the leagues. So getting to the point where that's like the case is definitely something that we really wanted, and I think that we have mostly kind of gotten there. Like it's pretty good now.
Yeah.
What is that a temple? Zoom in on that. Well, sorry, we're being shown a.
From chat?
Okay, so
right.
Zoom in on that?
This is okay. We have been told that there's a T1 issue with the temple.
Temple shenanigans T1 issue after interview.
So apparently, yeah, we've been whispered in the
capital
air.
letters.
Yeah.
The message we just.
Right. Okay. Cool. So, yeah. We'll look into that right after.
It was just when you brought up that your Christmas was ruined. I was like, "There's something you should know."
Okay.
I have no more. No, that's not. That's got a bit crazy. I have the amount of joy I can get out of just going and obliterating the temple right now. Trust me, and I don't care if it's a mid-league nerf. I've lost all sympathy for that bloody temple and everyone running it for now. Being extreme, like obviously I don't want to actually just make it bad. But like,
so good.
It's left some trauma.
Okay.
Gun is begging.
Cool.
But yeah.
Early on, when it was the strategy, like recently, I was like, honestly, if that temple's the strategy again, I'm not playing this league. I was just like, I'm done. We have to solve this. And I think a lot of people share that. I think that just spending an entire another league doing the exact same kind of temple thing as last league is a thing that would immediately turn off so many people from wanting to actually play.
Yep.
And it's that thing where it's like, oh, well, just don't do it if you don't enjoy it. Well, you know how it is. If something is economically that advantageous, you kind of have to, right? Like, well, so
Not yet, Kevin.
Yes, it is
not yet.
Not a good thing if the temple just ends up being supreme. But like, anyway, it sounds like it's something I'm immediately going to. As soon as this ends, I'm gonna run, jog, walk fast, and we'll go figure it out. So
Awesome.
if there is something, don't get too attached to it.
Awesome. Good to hear it. Another thing that was new with PO2 in general, we're seeing more and more cinematics. Is one of my favorite things. I love it. Even like the start of the bosses with the new Arbiter of Divinity and stuff. We're seeing more cinematics there.
I like it.
Yeah, is that just going to be a trend moving forward? With like, should we expect more cinematics?
We're definitely going to do some more. Like 1.0 in particular, there are some cool things. But I don't know that it's going to be like, I wouldn't expect like every Pinnacle boss going forward is going to always have one in this kind of thing. Like it's not going to be like that common, but yeah, like, I mean, it's definitely like 1.0 needs to have some cool shit. So, you know, there'll be some stuff.
Well, I certainly wouldn't want to add more if before we first implement the capability to also like skip them, like, you know, things like that. So it'll probably get pretty tiresome pretty quickly if all of a sudden everything's doing that. You know, especially when you lose control of your character entirely. Like, you know, the start of the Tang Mizzou fight is, you know, has a bit of a story moment, but I wouldn't say it's a cinematic, whereas, like, the Arbiter of Divinity actually, like, seizes control of your, you know, you can't move, your cameras gets hijacked. So that kind of thing, where we actually seize control and hijack your camera, we'd want to implement a level of skippability, for sure. But yeah, it's, you know, actually, and then there's the actual like player video style thing, like the Fortress Rising, you know, which is currently skippable, but that's actual cinematic, where then we have in-game cinematic, where then we have also just narrative moments. I would want to make sure that the in-game cinematic parts get skippable before we're doing too many more of those, and it starts to get annoying.
Speaking of skippable, I was curious about this. For those of us that are going to be playing for thousands and thousands of hours, would you ever do like a UI option button, which is basically roleplay skip? Because these are like really cool the first 20, 50, 200 times, but after thousands of hours, like there are a few things like throwing an abyss item down the well and stuff like that. Like they do get very long eventually, and they will start adding up, I think. They're very cool. I do like them a lot. I mean,
the abyss well, it's only the first item.
I'd need to think very carefully about how to do something like that. I do appreciate what you're saying.
Yeah.
But it's like, so here's my worry, right? Let's say you added an option in the options menu of just skip all of that stuff. You're going to turn that on and you're never going to turn it off. And so then when we make a new league,
I'd just definitely turn it off for new stuff.
You know what I mean? Sure, but I think a lot of people just wouldn't, and like, you know, they wouldn't think about it and that kind of thing. And that's just one of those things. And so it's like, why? Like, I sort of, I'd like to solve this problem in a way where it's not.
Could it always work the first time?
Compromise that first time experience. Well, maybe it's like, but I mean, I just have to think about that like a little bit. Like, there's slightly more to it. Yeah, because I think just one time is also maybe not quite right either. Like, there's something.
Even resetting it once a league. Here. Like every new league, you have to see all them again.
I know, I get what you're saying. Like, I just need to have a think about it. Like, it's not something I've thought about in that way exactly before. I mean, there were some things we were even discussing earlier about like, so I mean, you know, I was looking at some various lists that people had of like various issues, and then someone pointed out the mermaid boss, like the immunity phases during that particular boss are very annoying. And I'm like, yeah, actually, you're right, they are pretty annoying. And so it's like this, and like that's one of those things where the first few times it's kind of fine, and then like, you know, you get that stuff, and like I don't want anyone to hear that and be like, oh, we're going to remove immunity phases, because I don't think we're generally going to do that. But like there are just certain things that do get annoying the more and more times that you do them, and so we have to think like a little bit carefully how we can try and resolve some of that stuff. There's probably something.
Yeah, I mean, throwing the item into the well as an example, where it was like, well, let's see if it's a problem and then we'll address it. And the idea was that if you're doing multiple crafts in one instance, you don't have to keep playing the animation, and but then it was like generally you do go back and forth to it, and it is true. I agree. It was like, it's kind of funny watching. I quite enjoy it. I like the item of the idea of throwing your item in the well, but then I get it. After many times, you're just kind of like, oh, just hurry up, you know. So but yeah, it is that there definitely isn't an easy way to, you know, like you wouldn't want to add a specific don't play abyss option. Like that's kind of silly. And then if you do a global option, it's like what does and doesn't it turn off? What categorizes in this field or not is a little bit subjective. Like there's certain you know, everyone I suspect has different opinions on what should and shouldn't be skippable or ignorable in this regard. But that doesn't.
What if hitting escape skips it?
You could do that. I mean, that's what we currently have for the conversations, right? You can escape to skip through to those, and that's something we did kind of recently. We wanted that to be a different analog for doing it, and we might still change that, because I don't think most people even know you can press escape to skip through it, even though I just told them. but yeah, maybe. I mean, whatever it ends up being, it could be the same thing. It's just, honestly, even just implementing that isn't entirely trivial, but it is very possible. It's just not trivial. And it's like, is there a way to do it? There's always a thing. You get caught up on like, is there a way to do it globally? Is there a way to do it for everything or not? And like things we opt into or not, but everything's just implemented very bespokely and in their own custom way. And so there isn't really like a universal solution necessarily on our end. Even though there probably is a universal solution for, you know, what the player would do to achieve them. That's fine. So, I don't know. I'm sure something will change eventually.
Yeah.
Right? Like it probably will.
We'll have a think about it, basically. We'll have a think about it.
But yeah.
And speaking of cutscenes and stuff, the Bodak, wow, what a cool fight! That I think is my new favorite PoE fight in general right now. And like the music
was the one
is harrowing.
That was the one beforehand when people were asking me in interviews what my favorite pinnacle in the expansion was. That was that one. It's just really.
Yeah, you mentioned
really
that
cool.
in the tavern talk.
Yeah, I'm a fan of the.
It's very different. So like he
I love it.
It's kind of hard to appreciate, but like obviously you have the goddesses Viridi, Solaris, and Lunaris coming in with their powers to help you, and you have you know, you can freeze him and do a bunch of damage to him without even necessarily damaging him. And there's it's got a lot of unique elements to it for sure. Obviously the darkness but yeah, it's pretty cool. What is I was just trying to think, like, I mean, holy, that was not an easy fight to make.
I bet.
I think that might have been the fight that has now taken the longest to make in all of GGG history, by the way.
Wow.
There were a lot of false starts with things, like, because there were a lot of mechanics we really wanted to work, but then it took, like, it took a while for us to realize that we couldn't really do them the way we wanted, so...
Yeah.
Yeah, there was just like there was just quite a bit of like of things, but yeah, it was the end result is really, really cool.
Yeah, I like the aesthetic. I like the kind
My
of
problem
effects with moths on them. Like
my problem with the Bodak fight was I played the monkey first time I fought him. I couldn't see shit, and then the boss was dead. It looked cool, but I couldn't see shit, and then the boss was dead.
the dark fluttering moths and the skin of the thing, and I mean, even the first phase where you're not damaging life, you're damaging darkness is kind of like an interesting thing that's different
And like
technically the boss is on full life the whole time, so if you get a bunch of like against full life bonuses, it's like you can, you know, it's like weird little niche things.
So like Jonathan was saying earlier, like I'm on hardcore, right? So I am researching the bosses first before doing it. So I was watching Steelmage do it, and thankfully for me, Steelmage's spark, no walls in that fight. He did no damage, so I got to like really see everything. Like it was a long fight for him, and I got very lucky with my league starter, the monkey, very strong. Monkey just fucking one shot that thing. But it was just, I was just sitting there the entire time. I was like, wow, I'm so happy my friend has no damage, because this is like a fight you really want to appreciate.
No shade on Steel.
That's cool. Even when you go into the fight, I love the cool ways to initiate fights as well. It's just a cool moment where like the prison, that kind of glass obsidian prison underneath you shatters and you just fall into his domain is like a kind of cool thing as well. I love that stuff a lot.
Same. It was very, very cool. One thing I promised to bring up about the Atlas screen. Obviously the Atlas is like, for some lower end PCs, like very graphically intensive. Would you ever consider a more airborne Atlas screen with something like quite a lot of lower end PCs asked for?
I honestly prefer to optimize the Atlas that we already have. Like, there are things about it that can definitely be optimized, and there's no reason it should necessarily need to be this slow as what it is. Like, yeah, it's interesting as a thing to optimize specifically because it's like it's quite different than all the rest of our engine, like the stuff that things our engine has to normally deal with, because there's so many different objects. So we effectively we have some ideas in mind on how to do that, and like there's several things like that I want to fix. So one of them is obviously just its frame rate, but the other one that I think is just the time to open it. And there are things about that we definitely can improve. Like we have specific optimizations in mind, and we should be able to get that to be down to like 300 milliseconds, something like that, or less. Like it should. There's no reason it needs to be longer than that. Yeah, there's just a few quirks to it that'll get us there. So yeah, I do appreciate it's a little bit annoying though. So yeah, we'll just optimize it, and that shouldn't take too long to do to get that to a better state.
When new quests get added to the game, are they? Oh, sorry. When new mechanics are added to the game, like new leagues and stuff, will they get their own in-game quests? Like, I'm a huge fan of the quest system.
Leagues will, yeah. So basically, every league we make going forward, there'll be like an in-game quest that lined for that.
I like that.
It helps a huge amount. One issue we do have to solve right now, though, is that there's like a giant list of quests on the right-hand side of the screen. Like we do need to solve that problem. There's like an issue that we brought up even before we released 050.
Yeah.
So I'll need to do something about that and work out what to do there. But yeah, no, we're definitely going to do that for the Questify, all of that stuff.
Cool. Now, I personally love it, but I'm also somebody that has a lot of time. Do you ever think it'll be too many quests?
Well, I guess the theory there is that they're all kind of optional.
Yeah.
So yeah, so long as we can get across the idea that you don't have to do all of these, they're just like the different options you have for in-game, then I think that that'll be fine. I certainly don't want to do something where we're like removing content just so there's less of it in the game. Like obviously you had Destiny 2 that was doing stuff like that, and I don't think any of the players really appreciated that at all. So you know, that's one of those things where like I think that's a really bad idea. So yeah, at the end of the day, over time there's just gonna be more and more things like that, and just the hope is effectively make it so that it's not kind of bothering anyone for it to exist, and like, you know, you just effectively you move it so that the point where the intro to the quest line just like maybe moves out a little bit so it happens a little bit later, and then you know, but that's the kind of thing that we can do to kind of streamline that. But
I'm very curious to see what people are going to do on sequential leagues for sure, as to whether or not, or how many people embrace that I want to complete everything, you know, psychology versus the nah, I'm going to do this league, and I'm just, that's it. They do those, you do the fortress, you do, say, Delirium, you do the temple, we'll see. And then, you know, you just move on. I don't know why they picked those two. I'm just being arbitrary. But it'll be interesting to see if, as more leagues go by, if more seasoned players in particular just pick at the start, like, here's the leagues I'm going to farm. You know, solely once they've figured it out based on patch notes as well. They're like, this is my in-game strat. And then they just do that. And I guess if they change their mind mid-league, they can always just do that, right? They can go and do the quest line, finish it, and then do a new strategy. But instead of having to do everything all at once, they just pick their battle and go and just farm that as long as they want, and then go and change strategy.
Or you just need to do the first quest for Delirium for the instilling.
What people do instead of, I have to do everything every league and it's getting tiresome. Because that is the worry, right? Is that if, you know, if it gets perceived as, in order to even start the end game, you know how these things go, I have to first, as in the peak rewards end game, I have to first go and do all of these quests and all of these maps, and it's hundreds of hours or dozens of hours, and then I can start the end game. If that becomes the wider perception, that is going to get more and more tiresome per league, and it then means the longevity of this, you know, might not be as, you know, good as we hoped. So now there are ways to adapt to that. And, you know, we've done some of that already. The whole just killing pinnacles gives you points for them and so on and so forth.
Quite nice.
But you still got to do the quest in order to then get to do that. And then maybe there are more changes, but like it's honestly hard to know. A thing being played once, twice, 3 times is very different to it being played 15 times. And we're obviously going to do leagues for as long as we can. You know what I mean? So we'll have to just see. But I can see this. It's one of those like, it's probably going to be a problem after 2.5 years or something, you know? But so hopefully we don't have to worry about it for a while. But you'll probably get a growing number of players per league reset who are like, there's too much to do now. And it's an interesting problem to have. But I don't know. I'm hoping the optionality of it will salvage that for as long as possible.
Yeah. That's fair. Awesome. No, I mean, I love it. I'd say it really takes care of the whole like feeling lost problem for me to have. So it's really enjoyed it. There's also like, we're seeing more and more items, like unique items with skills being added. What are some of the obstacles on your end when adding something, but still like trying to make sure that it has a place in the game, that it like fits in?
Well, so the skills on uniques thing is certainly something that like we now see is pretty important for like unique design going forward, and I guess it's sort of filling in the sort of similar design space as what we were like previously. I think a lot of the stuff that we would previously do with what the heck were they called in PoE 1? Is it transfigured? Transfigured, right?
Transfigured, James.
Transfigured skills, yes, I can always forget the names. The transfigured skills. So it's kind of a similar thing like that. Like we'll probably do a lot more uniques that have like effectively just variants on existing ones and things like that, and going like that. So like I guess the thing there is just like all of this new unique stuff that we're doing there is kind of happening at the end of the game, but we need to get more of that stuff into the earlier part of the game. That's kind of like the really our current. Our current goal is like try to have that more, and then when transfigured skills was like in that balance are kind of more available earlier, it'll mean then that more people will be able to build things around those uniques like earlier in the character's lifetime. Like if you can get it like level 40, like a thing that might define your build, like like you make a build around it at that kind of level, that's the kind of thing that's going to improve. Make that stuff fit in a little bit better. So that's kind of what we're hoping to achieve, is like something more like that feel with regard to the uniques and the skills on them.
Yeah. Well, I was
the
just gonna selfishly. Oh, sorry. I was just gonna selfishly ask real quick. Would you ever consider letting us right-click a gem? Like for example, I really want to. Oh, I forget the name of it. It's almost like Perfidy. Peridify. It's the new wisp bow. From
Periphery.
It has like the wisps that like.
I know the bow. I don't remember the name.
Yeah.
It had internally it was called like
Periphery.
Or something.
Called Periphery.
Periphery.
I can't use that until 84, and I was sitting there thinking, I wish I could right-click a level 7 gem or 10 gem and make it at least temporarily lower level, so that I could use it while early. Like you were saying.
I definitely understand that. I definitely understand the desire for that, but I guess there's a worry that you like. It's like what you're almost asking for the reverse of what we just did, like down.
Yeah, which by the way, that was great too. I love that part too.
Yeah. But yeah, like no, like it is a concern, but I think part of
So a change that some people might have missed in the Tavern Talk interview that Darth and I run, we interviewed them, and Jonathan, basically they fixed it so that you can use a jeweler or like a perfect jeweler on your items that has a skill to give it max sockets. It doesn't have to be a level 20 skill to get max sockets. You can just use a perfect jeweler orb on the item. And what Sis is talking about here is using a skill gem on the item somehow to lower the level of skill, to lower the level requirements.
The reason why you feel that way is just because there aren't enough uniques like that earlier in the game. It's like if there was like a suite of uniques that all had like interesting skills and stuff all through the game, then the desire to down level the coolest ones that are all currently at the end would like be less large. And it's like that's just a matter of just fixing all of those mid-tier ones and getting them getting them better. And it's like that is going to be a huge focus now, is like improving that kind of thing.
I don't think I'm inherently against being able to lower the level of those as well, though. Personally, it's just finding the right analog to do so. We had actually intended for something like that when we had one of the crafting bench systems that we dropped in Runes of Eldur. It initially had secret end-game recipes you could discover to be able to set the level of inherent skills on items to be lower levels. But that whole crafting bench got obliterated because it was kind of bad in the end. It was just like doing... It's like the essences and runes and stuff were already kind of doing the same thing, and it was like just a third way of doing that, and it wasn't really necessary. So
I suppose there'd be nothing technically stopping us make it so the existing unique crafting bench could actually, on high level uniques, could make them go lower in damage with lower base levels.
That fixed life spray again.
Theoretically do that. It'd be kind of funny, but it's a bit unintuitive if you're a player that you would do something like that.
I mean, I guess what I'm getting at is it was very close to being a thing, so it's probably not gonna not be a thing forever. So. We'll just see. I don't want to... it definitely needs to be a thing where we don't then go and add... Like, it's either a custom recipe or on a bench. It's not like we add... it's actually a little bit hard through the uncut, but it's not... I guess it wouldn't be impossible. But, you know...
Yeah, but that's upgrading,
like, we have the one that can upgrade the level...
the fluxes.
Whatever it's called. We were like, we don't want to do one that also, we don't want to have like 20 currency items where it's just like a bunch of item bloat for like being able to set it to a bunch of lower levels necessarily. And so, but either way, it will come. Like, I'm almost certain of it. I just don't want it to be ultra common as well. Like, it's obviously a more of a re-rolling thing.
Yeah.
And so, but it's kind of fine.
Nice. As a final question, you guys talked a little bit about I believe you talked about a reset league at some point, right? Like some sort of event. Anything more you can tease
Yeah,
about
between now and 1.0.
Not really. I mean, we'll probably say it as much as we can say for now, but yeah, it will happen. We don't have an exact timeline, but yeah, it'll definitely be happening. And yeah, there'll be a lot of other just like balance changes and other things going on there as well as I'm sure we'll manage to sneak in some content as well. So we'll see how we go. But yeah, it's we definitely need to be able to do a couple more resets before we get to 1.0, just to do more balance iteration. And like in the background, the balance iteration I think is going pretty well. I mean, you pasted me that list of like what the DPS on all of the highest level characters was compared to the kind of ridiculous outliers we had before. And I think a lot of the outliers are getting sorted. Like the balance is slowly improving as a thing going on in the background. So that's been helping a lot too.
Yeah, we are getting there.
What's that about Reset League? So when a league emerges, a new league launches, there's a fresh economy, new mechanics and everything. There are not going to be any big leagues between now and 1.0, but they said they were going to do like events or reset leagues, essentially like mini leagues or something, which is more like within the idea of like events, which is supposedly coming with fresh economies and whatnot. So that's what's happening between now and 1.0, and that's what Sis was asking about.
It's just like there's this kind of uphill battle to it where it's like one step forwards. I wouldn't say two steps back. It's like
it's like 3 steps forward, 1 step back every
or
league,
3, 2. It's like we do all these things, and then we add all this new content, and then that creates another. We like fix 20 problems, and then we add all the new content, and that adds like 10 to 15 problems, and then we have to fix those problems, and it's like this. It feels like a unwinnable battle sometimes, but it is. We are making progress. Like I did look at things, and I was like, we are getting there. We just have to keep going, and we'll eventually minimize the amount of problems and bring up the bottom. Like I've made sure to take. I know there are snapshots on Ninja, but I've also made sure to take a bunch of screenshots of like very early in the league what people are playing and not, and obviously that's the top 120,000 characters or whatever. So it doesn't represent everyone, but then we also get stats on our side and we kind of match them up. And so I'm always keep an eye on like what's not being played, and it comes back to Acolyte being consistently low. This league you've got Pathfinder.
The fuck you talking about, my chunky boy, man, my chunky boy. By the way, tomorrow I'll be playing Chunky Boy Infernal Legion, so there's gonna be a second Chunky Boy coming out this time.
You've got what else is down there? There's all the 1% or less classes that people just aren't playing, and even Chronomancer, even though we just did some changes to it. And there are builds with those classes, but there are then just clear and evident problems, and we'll just keep chipping away at them and see how far we get. The uniques is another one. Obviously, I've mentioned that as well too. I can't remember if it was a DM and GHAZZY or Ziggy, but like we're going to look at the uniques. We're going.
Do you say my name?
Acolyte being consistently low. This league you've got Pathfinder. You've got what else is down there? There's all the 1% or less classes that people just aren't playing, and even Chronomancer, even though we just did some changes to it. And there are builds with those classes, but there are then just clear and evident problems, and we'll just keep chipping away at them and see how far we get. The uniques is another one. Obviously, I've mentioned that as well too. I can't remember if it was a DM and GHAZZY or Ziggy, but like
let's just
we're
talk
going to
about
look
the
at the
interview.
uniques. We're going to just look at a bunch of different content that's not good, i.e. the logbooks is that's not in a reset, but it's this league. We'll just do some improvements. So, but yeah, we definitely have more resources towards just trying to like improve and fix the live game, be it bugs or balance. Since now we're effectively hoping to be on the home stretch of going all the way to release and getting that all sorted. We've got a good chunk of people focusing on the live realm right now, hoping to improve a lot of things, and we should be able to achieve quite a lot. Like,
awesome.
It's just whether or not we patch them in ASAP or we patch them in with a reset, and it kind of that ultimately comes down to whether or not it's going to break people's characters and economy.
Yeah.
We're going to try and minimize that as much as possible to invalidate people's characters. Obviously, we're trying to minimize. So
Yeah.
Content fixes probably will come as they're ready. Character stuff will come a bit later because, you know,
with the reset league.
yeah, with an event / reset league. Yeah.
Oh. Well, huge thank you. And thank you so much for going overtime as well. Like, just thank you so much. I know you guys are crazy busy. And yeah, huge thank you. League's amazing. I'm having a blast. So yeah.
Excellent.
Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, thank you as well. And I guess we're off to look at the temple, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess that's what we're doing now. But yeah, great interview.
Right.
Nerf that shit.
I'll see you guys later.
right.
Thanks so
Cheers.
much. Bye.
Bye.
All right. I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. Huge love to GGG. You're watching this on YouTube later. Tell me if you like it. Try to die less than the temple does.
Fuck, can we get some claps to the channel for the sis in this interview? It was a good interview. Some claps to the channel. I'm guessing Kikis will throw this up on YouTube, so we'll leave a link in the description down below there. And yeah, hit the like button, subscribe for more content and all that. And bye.